Chapter 1. So you've already experienced today more than 30 million times? Yes. To be precise, today is exactly 100,000 years. In a remote corner of the forgotten immortal sect, Chini stared warily at the youth blocking her way. You're spouting nonsense. Did you poison me? Chini's pretty face was furious. Get out of my way, you bad guy. Lin Yu smiled faintly. I haven't found any fun today. That's why I wanted to help you. After being trapped in the same day for 100,000 years, Lin Yu had to find some fun to pass the time of infinite resets. If you walk another 30 feet, you'll meet the person who harmed you. Qini's breathing quickened. That's an interesting story, but why should I believe someone who popped out of nowhere? It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. It's not the first time I've seen you captured. Lin Yu looked up at the sky. A huge ice palace was floating there. I've seen you many times from up there, so I know your future. You'll be brought to the back of the mountain by a few men, and then… Nonsense! Qini followed his gaze and immediately interrupted Lin Yu. That's my mother's palace. How could you have entered it? Lin Yu smiled. Not only have I entered it, but I've also slept in it. Enough. No matter what you say, I won't believe you. Qini knew that the person behind her was about to catch up. She did not wait for Lin Yu to finish before she went around. However, she had only walked 30 feet when she saw flames gathering towards her. It was already midnight. The forgotten immortal sect had always spent their nights in darkness. Flames. Why were there flames? Qini retreated, her face pale. She looked at Lin Yu in shock. How did this person who popped out of nowhere get everything right? I told you. You'll be captured. Lin Yu whistled. Don't make a sound. Qini covered Lin Yu's mouth with one hand. At this moment, flames appeared in another direction. There are people in front and behind. Lin Yu pointed to his mouth, and Qini immediately let go. Do you believe me now? Yes, yes. Qini nodded her head several times. How could she dare to doubt Lin Yu like before? Seeing the flames surrounding them, he said, I believe you, but what should we do now? To your mother's palace. Lin Yu knew that today's fun had come to an end. No, the entrance to the bedroom is behind the fire. Qini shook her head. Lin Yu did not explain further. Just follow me. After hearing that, Qini could only follow him. In the darkness, the two of them entered a tunnel. There were many paths in this tunnel, but Lin Yu was familiar with them. Why is there a secret passage here? She grew up in the Wangxian sect and did not even know about this secret passage. I've been here many times, Lin Yu said calmly. Qini followed Lin Yu closely and stared at the youth's back in fear. The Wangxian sect is heavily guarded. You're not from here, so how did you get in? Even if you say that you've repeated today more than 30 million times, you'll still be captured. Lin Yu smiled. On the same day, I can try countless methods. Even if I fail, it will be reset the next day. To me, failure is just eliminating a wrong method. The last one left is the right one. I have enough time to explore everything here. Not only the Wangxian sect, but I can also explore the entire world repeatedly. So you should understand why I can bring you through this secret passage, right? Humph, I don't understand. Qini pouted. Although she had never heard of Lin Yu's experience, she could not refute it logically. Then where does this secret passage lead to? It's not the bedroom you mentioned, is it? Lin Yu nodded and answered. Qini immediately pulled him back. Are you crazy? Mother's cultivation level is very high. If she finds out that you're an outsider, she'll kill you. Little Saintess, you're not afraid of anything. Why would you be afraid of me being killed? You even know my identity? Hearing Lin Yu's words, Qini blushed and retorted, Humph, I'm not afraid of you dying. It's just that it's rare to meet an interesting person. Lin Yu smiled. He knew that this little saintess had grown up under various restrictions in the Wangxian sect. She had long wanted some excitement. Don't worry, there's no one inside. Lin Yu lifted a rock above his head and the two of them climbed out at the same time. It's really the bedroom. Qin looked around and saw that there was no one around. How do you know that Mother isn't here? I've said it before. I've reset 100,000 years ago. I've been here many times. Lin Yu took a half-foot-long dagger from the wooden table in the bedroom and walked to the corner. He raised his right hand and pressed it against the wall. Immediately, a complicated pattern appeared on the wall. A formation? Why is there a formation in Mother's bedroom? Qin took a closer look. The formation was extremely exquisite. It's a teleportation formation. Lin Yu nodded. I discovered it on my third visit here. This is your mother's secret. Don't tell anyone. Forget it. Lin Yu shrugged. You'll forget about it when the sun comes up. Forget about it when the sun comes up. Is it true? Qin looked a little disappointed. She changed the topic. Where does the formation lead to? The mountain behind the Wangxian sect. There's someone waiting for you there. Who? Perhaps because of the poison, Qin's body felt hotter, but she was also a little excited. The person in the fire just now wanted to take you to the mountain behind the mountain. Do you want to take a look? Yes. Qin nodded angrily. I'd like to see who dares to harm me in the Wangxian sect. But is it dangerous? It's dangerous, but it's also exciting. Qin felt an inexplicable sense of security when she followed Lin Yu. It was as if everything was within his expectations. She nodded. For some reason, she stepped into the formation's light spot with Lin Yu. When the two opened their eyes again, there was an empty mountain range before them. Behind them, they were already out of the supreme Wangxian sect. Where's the person? They're here. As expected. What took you so long, young master? Have you been waiting for a long time? 3 masked men in black walked out of the night. They were stunned. The leader in the middle said, Damn it, why are you awake? Are you disappointed? Lin Yu was right. These 3 were waiting for her to be captured. Qin stepped forward angrily. Do you know the consequences of drugging me in the Wangxian sect? Little Saintess, please spare us. The 3 of them were so frightened that they wanted to kneel and beg for mercy. However, when they looked closely, they realized that Qin had come alone. Lin Yu was behind her. He was only in the mortal realm. They ignored him immediately. Haha, so you're alone, little Saintess. That bunch of trash can't even capture you. The leader stared at Lin Yu. Capture the little Saintess and kill this mortal. Lin Yu smiled. Qin was stunned. She said, I can tell. Your elder Xian Yu's man. The 3 of them were shocked, but they were fearless. Little Saintess, you have good taste. But since you've said it, don't even think about leaving. How dare you? Young master has been waiting for you for a long time. Who's young master? Get lost, you. Before Qin could finish speaking, a hand grabbed her. The 3 of them cooperated well. One of them took care of Qin, while the other 2 attacked Lin Yu at the same time. Little Saintess, you're really not afraid of death. You dare to take revenge on us with a mortal realm trash. You're digging your own grave. You talk too much, Lin Yu said calmly. The dagger in his hand flashed coldly. The person closest to him was blinded. The next moment, he felt a chill in his throat. He reached out to cover his throat, but it was too late. Lin Yu attacked so quickly that the other 2 only reacted now. Dead. F***ck. I'll show you the power of the spirit realm. Die. The other 2 rushed up. Lin Yu raised his hand and slashed forward. Whoosh. Ah, my eyes. Lin Yu sent him flying with a kick. Another one dead. His dagger stabbed forward. The leader was already kneeling on the ground in fear. His pants were wet. Don't kill me, don't kill, Lin Yu played with the dagger. Take it off. The man immediately took off the cloth, revealing his face. He ding. Qin recognized him immediately. Elder Xian Yu's eldest disciple. He ding kept kowtowing. Little Saintess, this has nothing to do with me. Young master ordered me to do it. You talk too much. Suddenly, a young man in white walked out of the darkness. Situ-ju, it's you. Chin-yi felt that something was wrong with her. Her whole body was burning, and her consciousness was blurry. What poison did you give me? Situ-ju looked at Chin-yi's curvaceous body. Holy and inviolable little Saintess, how would I dare to poison you? He's the one who poisoned you. Situ-ju raised his eyebrows and looked at Lin-yu. Little bastard, you broke into my forgotten immortal sect, killed 2 people from the patrol team, and poisoned the Saintess. Do you know how to write the word death? Lin-yu couldn't help but laugh. The plot isn't bad. What's next? Situ-ju obviously knew what Lin-yu was referring to. He clapped his hands and cheered. Then I'll kill you and offer myself to the little Saintess. You're shameless. Chin-yi was not only extremely beautiful, but also intelligent. Of course, she could tell that this was Situ-ju's scheme to frame Lin-yu to get away with it. However, Situ-ju didn't care about her. Instead, he was a little surprised by Lin-yu. This little guy was unusually calm. Could it be that he didn't know that he was about to die? He-ding, you can't even deal with a kid in the mortal realm. You should know what the consequences are. In order to avoid trouble, Situ-ju shouted an order. He-ding wasn't afraid of him, but he was afraid of Situ-ju's father, Elder Xianyu. Hearing this, He-ding's whole body trembled. He gritted his teeth and suddenly attacked Lin-yu. However, whoosh! The blade light slashed across his neck at an even faster speed. He-ding was motionless and had become a corpse. Lin-yu's hands and face were splashed with blood. Do you have a handkerchief? Lin-yu asked Chin-yi very calmly. He was too calm, as if he didn't kill them. The calmer he was, the more Situ-ju's heart thumped. Only then did he realize that this 15 or 16-year-old boy in front of him was actually so scary. Who are you? Chapter 2. After being trapped in this day for 100,000 years, Lin-yu didn't know how many people he had killed. Anyway, he didn't have to bear the consequences of killing anyone. Because the day was reset at dawn, there were no consequences. Over time, killing people was like killing an ant to him. He was too used to it. He had been to every place in this world and didn't need to care about distance, because he remembered that there were more than 3 million teleport arrays in this world. He knew about small sects, super sects, and even the unknown races in the universe. He had failed too many times and was even found out and killed. But death was just waking up. There wasn't even any pain. He had failed many times, but he could go through countless failures and reset until he succeeded. Just like now, even though these 3 people were 1 level higher than him, they were no match for him. But if they were 2 levels higher, no matter how powerful their skills were, they would be useless. Situ-ju, you've just reached the salvation state and you're already so bold? Chin-yi handed over a handkerchief and Lin-yu wiped the blood away and said, on the path of cultivation, the glory chi of the universe was formed from weak to strong, mortal state, spirit state, salvation. Situ-ju was 2 levels higher than Lin-yu, so Lin-yu knew that he couldn't beat Situ-ju. How do you know I've broken through? He had broken through this morning and didn't attack. Only Xianyu knew. Lin-yu couldn't have known so clearly. Lin-yu stared into Situ-ju's eyes as if he wanted to eat him. He said in a deep voice, your father told me. Do you know what you've done today is enough to stop the cooperation between me and him, and even kill him? Cooperation? Situ-ju was shocked and took 2 steps back with a trembling voice. You're the emissary? Smack. Situ-ju felt a sharp pain on the left side of his face. When he came back to his senses, Lin-yu had already taken back his hand. He was only at the mortal state. Why was he so fast? Situ-ju was dumbfounded. Was he really the emissary? How dare you casually reveal my identity? Lin-yu's gaze was sharp, scaring Situ-ju so much that he immediately knelt down. Situ-ju deserves to die, Please, please forgive me, my lord. He stole a glance at Chini. It's over, it's over. Could it be? Could it be that the little saintess is also a partner? Bang. That's not something you should ask. Lin Yu kicked out again, and Situju's right cheek was swollen. Tell me, how should I deal with you and your father? As his voice fell, Situju was scared silly once more. He quickly kowtowed. My lord, spare me, spare me. Apologize to her. You scared her. Situju immediately turned to Chini. This lowly one deserves death for offending the little saintess. Please punish me. He crawled forward on his knees. I know I was wrong. As long as the little saintess and my lord can let me go, I will do anything you want. Chini didn't know what had happened at all. Her mind was still in a daze. This Situju had always been arrogant. He relied on his father's status as the grand elder of the Wangxian sect to commit crimes. Why was he so afraid of Lin Yu now? Chini didn't know what to do. She looked at Lin Yu for help. Bang! Lin Yu threw the dagger on the ground. Situju's forehead was covered in sweat. My lord, what do you mean by this? Leave something behind and scram. Lin Yu said calmly. Situju was already sweating profusely. He was extremely regretful. If he had another chance, he would rather die than have any ideas about Chini. Chini wasn't scary. What was scary was this young man who had suddenly appeared. At first, he was glad that there was an idiot to take the blame for him. But now he knew that he was in big trouble. Situju's whole body trembled. He stole a glance at Lin Yu. Unexpectedly, the other party said angrily, Do you want me to do it? No. I will do it myself. Emissary. This was the emissary that even his father was afraid of. Situju finally knew how powerful he was. He couldn't hide any of his actions from the other party. At this moment, Situju gritted his teeth. He picked up the dagger with his right hand and slashed at his left arm. The dagger was extremely sharp. Immediately, his arm fell to the ground, dripping with blood. Situju fell to the ground. Good that you know what's good for you. Lin Yu fanned his nose. The smell of blood in the air was too strong. Where is Nanming Phoenix? Situju's remaining hand immediately pointed in a direction. He didn't dare to hesitate at all. He was afraid that if he hesitated any longer, he would lose his life. Lin Yu walked over. Chini was afraid. Now that there was no one to stop her, she was even more afraid of being left behind by Lin Yu. She hurriedly followed. The two of them came to the other side of the mountain range. As expected, they saw a phoenix sleeping on the ground. This phoenix was 7 feet long. Its feathers were azure. At this moment, it glanced at Lin Yu and Chini. It seemed to look down on their cultivation. It couldn't be bothered with them, and went back to sleep. So beautiful! Chini was extremely excited. Nanming Phoenix. This is our forgotten immortal sex flying mount. I've only seen the adults ride it. This is the first time I've seen it up close. The adults she was referring to were the core members of the forgotten immortal sect. Lin Yu walked to Nanming Phoenix's side and kicked its head. If you don't get up, I'll pluck the phoenix plume from your head. Nanming Phoenix was shocked. Its eyes suddenly widened. The phoenix plume was its Achilles heel. Once it was plucked, all the feathers on its body would fall off. That was a phoenix's lifeblood. Its head fell in front of Lin Yu, waiting for him to get up. Mounts understood humans. They already knew that Lin Yu wasn't someone to be trifled with. How can this be? Mother said that Nanming Phoenixes are arrogant. They can only ride them after 3 years of training in the Salvation Realm. This is the most honorable mount in the eyes of the disciples. Chini was surprised to see Lin Yu get on the phoenix's back. Are you bringing me along? There was no one around. Chini asked nervously. You're poisoned. You should know what it is. As soon as Lin Yu spoke, Chini's heart skipped a beat. I helped you take care of Situju. But are you sure you want me to help you with the antidote? Qin Yi naturally knew what the aphrodisiac was. Sidu Ju was a beast. How could he use such a despicable method? I know. There's no antidote for the aphrodisiac. There's only. Qin Yi raised her right hand. Lin Yu smiled and reached down. Qin Yi quickly grasped it and jumped up. Nanming Phoenix's back was like a wide feather bed. The two sat on it. Sidu Ju's cultivation is extremely high. How did you make him so afraid of you? Qin Yi's body was hot. Especially when she was close to Lin Yu, her heart beat faster. Was this the side effect of the aphrodisiac? I've said it before. I've been trapped in this world for 100,000 years. I know everyone in the Forgotten Immortal sect. Is it difficult to scare a good-for-nothing? Scare? Qin Yi gasped. You're saying you can't beat him? If he found out just now, wouldn't we be done for? Yes. He's in the Salvation Realm. I can take 3 moves from him at most. However, you should know that an ordinary mortal realm cultivator wouldn't even be able to move under the aura of a Salvation Realm cultivator, let alone take a move. Lin Yu was also helpless. For 100,000 years, his cultivation and body had been constantly reset. Even if he had mastered all the martial arts knowledge in this world, he couldn't cultivate at all. He once tried to cultivate at full speed for a day and break through to the Salvation Realm at the expense of damaging his foundation. However, he returned to the mortal realm the next day. He also knew that there was a cultivation method in this world that could store cultivation in a woman's body and transmit it to a man through a special method. It could allow a man to break through quickly in a short time without damaging his foundation. Qin Yi had no cultivation because she was such a woman. However, this was useless against Lin Yu. Don't get so close. Qin Yi retreated shyly. Only then did she realize how dangerous it was. Lin Yu smiled. He didn't even move. Clearly, Qin Yi's state of mind had been messed up by the aphrodisiac. Rise. The Nanming Phoenix rose into the sky. The dozens of mountains of the Taishang Wangxian sect and the 14 majestic and sacred palaces kept shrinking below. Qin Yi looked at the enlarged stars in the night sky. After leaving the Wangxian sect's territory, she was surrounded by inverted clouds. The night wind blew against her beautiful face. She saw a large river across the sky. On it, a huge crocodile head opened its bloody mouth. Qin Yi was shocked. Lin Yu lay on the feather bed and skillfully commanded the phoenix to avoid the crocodile head. What's that? Qin Yi asked in surprise. A small animal. Liar, how can there be such a big animal? Qin Yi pouted. Do you still think I'm lying to you? Qin Yi shook her head. She didn't know if Lin Yu was really trapped in the present day for 100,000 years, but she was very curious about Lin Yu. The scenery outside is very beautiful, and you're very special. Is everyone in the outside world as special as you? Lin Yu looked at the night sky. Its sharp silhouette was reflected in the night sky. Maybe. You said you're trapped in the present day. Haven't you tried to wait until dawn? Maybe if you don't sleep, you can wait until the next day. I've tried, but I'll fall asleep at 6 in the morning. No, I should say that I'll pass out at 6 and wake up at 7. Only sleep for an hour. Yes, but I'm full of energy. More accurately, I'm back to the morning of the previous day. There's no next day. Lin Yu's voice was filled with helplessness. The moonlight shone on his face. Qin Yi was stunned. She lay beside Lin Yu and smiled faintly. You said you've interacted with more than 1 million women who scored 8 out of 10? Lin Yu replied with a nasal sound. What do you mean by 8 out of 10? Appearance, figure, ability. More accurately, they're all high and mighty saintesses, empresses, sect masters, and even other peoples. You're so bad. Qin Yi's face was red. She leaned over and the two of them lay together. How many points am I worth? Lin Yu smiled. 7 out of 10. Humph. Qin Yi was obviously not very satisfied. If I'm only worth so few points, why did you save me? Do you have a strong sense of justice? Lin Yu supported the side of his head with his left hand and looked at Qin Yi. I just wanted to save you today. In the past, I didn't save you. You! Qin Yi's body rose and fell. I save when I want to and kill when I want to. If I'm not casual, I'll be bored to death in these 100,000 years of reincarnation. Don't you think so? These were Lin Yu's heartfelt words. Qin Yi looked at the high-spirited young man. Her heart beat faster. She couldn't blame him. The night sky was too beautiful. However, compared to the scenery, Lin Yu piqued her interest more. Qin Yi snorted softly. Do you know that the saintess of the forgotten immortal sect is engaged to the 7 Yi demon emperor? 2 years later, when I turn 18, I'll marry him. Do you know who the 7 Yi demon emperor is? Lin Yu smiled. He's one of the 3 sovereigns. The number of people who died in his hands is at least a few million, if not tens of millions. Qin Yi leaned closer to Lin Yu. Her lips curled up slightly. Take a guess. If he knows that you've snatched me away, will he let you go? Chapter 3. Although Qin Yi said that, her eyes were filled with anticipation. She was looking forward to Lin Yu's resistance. No man could resist such a gaze. Lin Yu took advantage of the situation and pressed down on her. The 7 Yi demon emperor is a vengeful man. Even if his parents offended him and died in his hands, he might not be able to touch me. Lin Yu thought to himself, anyway, it'll be reset today when the sun rises. However, Qin Yi smiled sweetly at Lin Yu's domineering attitude. Bad guy who has been trapped in this world for 100,000 years. Is this how you treat other women? Lin Yu shook his head. Every woman is different. Some like it fast and exciting. Some like it slow and gradual. Qin Yi blushed and her heart raced. Then what do you think I like? There are 6 hours left before the reset. You can do it 5 times. Lin Yu pressed down on Qin Yi's head and said, Do you know that when a person escapes from danger, they need to vent appropriately? You happen to like being vented. What 5 times? Press. 6 hours later, Qin Yi finally knew what 5 times meant. Under the sunlight, Lin Yu opened his eyes. He thought he was back in the wooden hut and woke up alone. This was the place where he was trapped on the 26th of July of the 3 Sovereigns era. Big liar, didn't you say that we would return to yesterday at dawn? However, at this moment, Qin Yi's angry voice came from beside him. Lin Yu jumped up in fright. He looked around and realized that he was still on the southern Nether Phoenix's back. What day is it today? Lin Yu stared at the slightly tired Qin Yi. The latter jumped in fright. The 27th of July. The 27th of July. The 27th of July. Lin Yu looked at Qin Yi in disbelief. His breathing was rapid. I'm out. It's been 100,000 years. I'm finally out. He stood up and looked down at the colorful world on the Phoenix's back. The morning breeze blew on his face. 100,000 years. For the first 100 years of his imprisonment, he was still enjoying his immortality. No matter what bad things he did, no matter how many people he killed, he would not have to pay any price. But after 100 years, he began to get tired of this cycle. After his enemies were killed, they would be resurrected. After his breakthrough, he returned to the worldly realm. Other than the memories that would not disappear, everything external would be reduced to nothingness. All the friends and women he met on this day would forget him, or rather, they would never know him. 1,000 years later, he began to use all kinds of methods to commit suicide. He went to the 7 most dangerous places in the world, stole the most powerful treasures, and obtained the most beautiful woman with the highest status. Gradually, as his vision was satisfied, he began to have a new goal. He absorbed all the knowledge in the world and understood those powerful and interesting people. It was as if he treated their lives as his own. Only in this way could Lin Yu feel alive. But there were too few people like that. In the past 100,000 years, He had learned all the knowledge, visited all the places, and understood all the people. He once again fell into the endless cycle of reincarnation. But now he's out. Lin Yu shouted at the sky to vent his anger. Suddenly, an ethereal voice flashed in his mind. Congratulations to the host for passing the 100,000-year trial. Space-time system activation complete. Eternal host. Lin Yu cultivation realm. Samsara realm, war body realm. Worldly realm, divine sense realm. Worldly realm, 100,000 years to be refined. Space-time value. 365250000 system. Lin Yu cursed. He was not born in this world, but transmigrated from Earth 100,000 years ago. How could he not know what had happened? Damn it, what system has been open for 100,000 years? Soon, a description appeared in his mind again. Space-time value gained. Gain 1 point for every day passed. Space-time value use. Reverse time and space within a certain range, causing everything to be reset. The space-time value consumed varies with the size of space and time. Scoundrel. Qin looked at Lin Yu's agitated appearance and wanted to stand up, but she felt weak and fell back down. Big liar. Lin Yu came back to his senses and stared at the beautiful girl. You're very special. She was the only woman who remembered him. How many points do I have now? Qin was relieved when she saw that he had returned to normal. Actually, she did not blame Lin Yu. Lin Yu was very strange to begin with. 9 points. Lin Yu had just finished speaking when he suddenly heard the cries of several southern nether phoenixes behind him. The forgotten immortal sex pursuers were here. Oh no. He was now free. However, he had killed Elder Xian Yu's eldest disciple and severed the arm of his only son, Situ Ju. The biggest problem was that he had slept with the forgotten immortal sex Little Saintess, the 7 Yi Demon Emperor's fiancée. Damn it, I didn't know that escaping could be so exciting. Not only was Lin Yu not afraid, but he was also excited. He had not felt this way for 100,000 years. However, only then did he feel like he was truly alive. Who are you? How dare you kidnap the Saintess of the Immortal Sect? Hand over the Little Saintess and die. The phoenix's wings covered the sky. Hundreds of eyes fell on Lin Yu and Qin at the same time. Suddenly, a golden net spread out, locking the two of them in all directions and suppressing them. Run. The dragon trapping net is specially used to kill demonic beasts. Once you're caught, you won't be able to escape. Qin was worried about Lin Yu. However, she did not have any combat strength. Moreover, she was too weak after the night and could not even stand properly. It's a little troublesome. Lin Yu thought about the time-space value in his mind. Suddenly, a system notification appeared. Do you want to use time reversal? Yes. As the dragon trapping net approached, it shrunk rapidly. However, as soon as Lin Yu's voice fell, the space within a radius of 100 feet froze. In an instant, the dragon trapping net shot back and time seemed to have reversed. Lin Yu dispelled the time reversal. The dragon trapping net was too fast. It flew backward due to inertia and trapped dozens of southern nether phoenixes. Why did the dragon trapping net rebound? What the hell? Untie it! How could the number 1 beast trapping net in the Hongmeng continent be untied so easily? In the blink of an eye, the southern nether phoenixes and the disciples of the forgotten immortal sect fell down. You're so powerful! Qin was stunned. Have you grasped all of my powers? Lin Yu turned his head and suddenly remembered that the Saintess of the Forgotten Immortal Sect was unable to cultivate because she had stored the supreme power of the Forgotten Immortal Sect in her body since she was young. When she lost her body, the supreme power that she had stored for more than 10 years would be absorbed by the man. This was a breakthrough that did not harm one's foundation. It was also what the 7 Yi Demon Emperor wanted the most. Not only have you escaped, but you've also given me such a big gift. As soon as Lin Yu finished speaking, there was a whoosh and a palm force suddenly descended from the sky. This palm force was much stronger than the one that came to capture him previously. Someone more troublesome is coming. Lin Yu raised his head. He still had all his knowledge of the martial Tao. He instantly adapted to the Samsara realm's power and struck out with his palm. Rumble! The two palm forces swept across the sky and the clouds rumbled. So it's a Samsara realm expert. No wonder you dare to offend the forgotten immortal sect. A figure slowly stepped out from the direction of the palm force. It was a lady in her early 20s. She had a graceful figure and a beautiful face. However, her eyes were extremely cold as she stared at Lin Yu. It's a pity that you won't be able to leave today. Qin Yi was shocked. Elder Yang. The person who came was one of the elders of the forgotten immortal sect, Yang Qing. Run. Elder Yang's cultivation is stronger than Situ Ju's. She's decisive and won't let you go. Qin Yi hurriedly pulled Lin Yu away. It's okay. Lin Yu smiled. He did not feel afraid at all. Saintess, I'll save you now, Yang Qing said as she held a cold white sword in her right hand. She had no intention of letting Lin Yu live. It's a pity that you have the talent to ignite your samsara realm at such a young age. After hearing what Yang Qing said, Lin Yu did not retreat. Instead, he took the initiative to move forward. He channeled his samsara realm cultivation and stepped into the air towards Yang Qing. Just as Yang Qing was about to attack, Lin Yu spoke calmly. He asked me to pass the message to you. Yang Qing froze when she heard what Lin Fan said. Lin Yu continued, it's been 15 years. He has already let go of your mother. He's still alive? Yang Qing's breath quickened as she put down her sword. She grabbed Lin Yu's sleeve and asked, where is he? Yang Qing was half a head shorter than Lin Yu. However, she unleashed her cultivation and a huge shadow appeared above Lin Yu's head. Lin Yu smiled. Are you threatening me or begging me? Chapter 4. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you right now? Yang Qing tightened her grip, but Lin Yu only smiled. If you want to know more about him, you have to learn to be polite. I'm not a pushover. You. Yang Qing and Lin Yu looked at each other. Qin Yi was so scared that she did not dare to speak. She knew that Yang Qing was known to be a tough elder in the sect. She was known to be domineering. Brother Yu, stop talking. Qin Yi wanted to stop Yang Qing, but Yang Qing let go of her hand and said, all right, tell me your conditions. Lin Yu smiled and said, escort me back to the Wangxian sect. That's it? No, with your ability you can sneak in again. Yang Qing knew that Lin Yu had the ability to sneak into the Wangxian sect to take Qin Yi away. No, with an elder leading the way, it will be much easier. What is it? I have something to talk to Qin Ji and Xian Yu about. Lin Yu knew that with Sidu Xian Yu's ability, it was only a matter of time before she found out that he was the one who broke Sidu Ju's arm. Instead of waiting for Xian Yu to seek revenge, it was better to take the initiative. In the Wangxian sect, the only person who could suppress Xian Yu was the sect leader, Qin Ji. As long as he could gain Qin Ji's trust, Xian Yu would not be able to touch him. How dare you? Do you think you can meet the sect leader and the Grand Elder just because you want to? Yang Qing was about to explode in anger, but she saw Lin Yu smiling at her. She immediately suppressed her anger. Qin Yi was confused. Every month, Yang Qing would beat up countless disciples. But now, she did not dare to be angry at Lin Yu. What was going on? I know what you're trying to do, right? Yang Qing's attitude softened again. Lin Yu was satisfied with her attitude and promised, don't worry. Qin Ji will thank you if you introduce me to them. As for Xian Yu, he might come to me himself. Situ Ju should still be suffering from the pain of losing his arm. Yang Qing looked at Qin Yi. Lin Yu saw through her thoughts. I will also personally give concubine Qin an explanation regarding the little saintess. That would be best. With Lin Yu's meticulous planning, Yang Qing no longer had anything to worry about. She was ready to leave. Qin Yi followed behind her. Suddenly, she heard someone crying for help. Elder Yang Qing, we are trapped by the dragon trapping net. Please save the disciples. Elder Yang Qing, save me. The southern underworld phoenix's wail could be heard immediately after. Idiot. Yang Qing frowned and looked at Lin Yu. Can you give me some time to save them? How long will it take? It will take at least 6 hours to undo the dragon trapping net. Lin Yu shook his head. Let me do it. The dragon trapping net was meticulously created by our immortal sect's grandmaster. Only elders can. Before Yang Qing could finish her sentence, Lin Yu waved his hand and a ray of Yao Qi struck the net. The ray of Yao Qi exploded in the air and the dragon trapping net was destroyed. Yang Qing and everyone else were dumbfounded by what they saw. Dragon trapping net, the most powerful beast trap in the forgotten immortal sect. One move in an instant. How is this possible? Yang Qing gulped. She had been in the Hongmeng continent for many years. It was rare for her to be so shocked by someone. How did you do it? Lin Yu did not use any powerful cultivation. She could see that every ray of Yao Qi landed on the weakest part of the dragon trapping net. However, there were also some parts that were the strongest. Yang Qing could not understand how the dragon trapping net could be destroyed when the rays of Yao Qi exploded at the same time. It's just a good technique, Lin Yu said calmly. Qin Yi's face turned red. She seemed to have thought of something. All right, let's not waste my time. Yang Qing knew that Lin Yu was unfathomable. She did not dare to delay and led the way. Soon, they arrived at the gate of the forgotten immortal sect. It was a gate made of white jade. It was majestic and holy. There were 10 Salvation Realm guards guarding the gate. They knelt down when they saw Yang Qing. Greetings, Elder Yang. Lin Yu ignored them and walked straight into the Wangxian sect. Yang Qing followed behind him. The guards were surprised when they saw this. Who is he? He's so domineering. He's walking in front of Elder Yang and he's acting all high and mighty. Domineering my ass. He must be someone like Sidu Ju. He's so arrogant that he doesn't even look at us. Why should I look at you? Lin Yu stopped in his tracks. The guards felt a sharp pain in their heads when they heard Lin Yu's voice. They quickly stood up and knelt down. Please forgive us, Master. Yang Qing frowned. She did not expect Lin Yu's divine will to be able to intimidate Salvation Realm Guard. Could it be that his divine will was stronger than hers? No, that was not a real divine will. It was just an aura. It was the aura of an expert. Bring me to Qin Ji. She should have come out of seclusion by now, Lin Yu said casually. Crippled the 3 of them. What? The guards and the disciples who had been freed from the dragon trapping net were all stunned. Some of them sneered in their hearts. Although they didn't know where Lin Yu came from, he really overestimated himself by showing off in the Wangxian sect. Just as they thought that, a ray of light flashed in front of them. The guards were cursing Lin Yu in their hearts. They could not dodge in time and were hit by the ray of light. The 3 of them were sent flying. They spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted on the spot. Looking at the 3 of them, they knew that their cultivation would be crippled when they woke up. Those who were thinking about it immediately lowered their heads. They did not dare to make any wild guesses. The person who crippled them was Yang Qing. The ice beauty in their eyes, who had always been arrogant and solitary, actually listened to a young man's words and crippled 3 guards? Qin Yi took a deep breath and followed Lin Yu. She felt that this man was much more domineering than she thought. She still did not know him well enough. Go back to your place. I'll take care of the rest, Lin Yu said to Qin Yi. Yang Qing could not help but laugh when she saw that he was ordering the little saintess around. This kid was a little too arrogant. In the forgotten immortal sect, the little saintess relied on the sect master's favor and her identity as the fiancée of the 7 Yi demon emperor. She did not care about anyone. This kind of woman who was always high and mighty could easily arouse a man's desire to conquer her. That was why Situ Ju dared to touch Qin Yi despite the forgotten immortal sex condemnation. However, Yang Qing saw Qin Yi nodding her head obediently. She bowed and left for the Saintess Palace. Yang Qing's eyes almost fell to the ground. It was the first time she saw the little Saintess being so obedient. She thought to herself, what did this kid do to make the little Saintess listen to him? Chapter 5. Elder Yang, let's inform her. Lin Yu reminded her. He was standing at the entrance of the Grand Master's palace. However, this was the territory of the Wangxian sect after all. He felt that he should give Qin Ji some face. What should I say? Yang Qing asked. Even she was a little confused. How could she not know what to do in front of a little brat? The merging of the meridians does not require the opening of the 8 meridians. Instead, it requires the balance of yin and yang. Cultivate the blood first, then the bones. Only then will the Tao be formed. Lin Yu found a pavilion and sat down. Okay. Yang Qing repeated Lin Yu's words a few times. She felt that the words were very mysterious. It seemed to be some kind of powerful martial art. However, she could not understand it. Thus, she went straight to the Grand Master's palace. The Wangxian sect was built on top of a snowy mountain. The 2 palaces and 13 palaces were located on top of the mountain. The combination of snow and white clouds made the place look like a paradise. Yang Qing's followers lowered their heads and did not dare to make a sound. They could still remember what happened to the guards at the entrance of the pavilion. Don't worry. I'm not a bad person. Lin Yu smiled. The disciples were even more afraid to raise their heads. Sword maniac, you've practiced the last move of the Heaven's Derivation sword technique incorrectly. Lin Yu said to one of the female disciples. The female disciple raised her head in shock. Her eyes were wide open as she looked at Lin Yu in disbelief. You? How did you know? She had been having a headache over the last move recently. However, the sword technique was passed down by the ancestors of the Wangxian sect. Even her master, Yang Qing, was stuck at the last move. However, Lin Yu, an outsider, was able to see through it. How was that possible? Sword Maniac was the prettiest among the disciples. She was only 15 or 16 years old, but she was already curvy. Many of the male disciples were already lusting after her. However, Sword Maniac was obsessed with the art of the sword. She had always been repulsed by the matters between men and women. They had never even touched her fingers. Will in front, Qi in the back, form in the middle. Sword will controls the sword body controls the Qi, and the sword Qi kills the enemy, Lin Yu said calmly. Sword Addict's body trembled, but she didn't dare to interrupt. However, Lin Yu stopped talking. Sir, can we continue? Sword Fanatic asked in a pleading tone. Lin Yu smirked and hooked his finger. Sword Fanatic's heart was set on swordsmanship, and Lin Yu could casually mention the general principles of her unique heaven-derived sword technique. How could she not be tempted? Immediately, he walked to Lin Yu's side and leaned close to Lin Yu's ear, accidentally revealing a shocking silhouette. Lin Yu whispered in her ear, "My shoulders are a little sore these days. Do you know what to do?" Sword Fanatic was stunned. She was extremely displeased with the matters between men and women. She even believed that there were no good men. Just as she was about to refuse, she felt a warm breath by her ear again. "I can teach you the problem of your sword Tao." After a long while, Sword Fanatic's delicate body trembled. The male disciples behind her who saw the two of them whispering intimately to each other were furious. Sword Fanatic was their goddess, the most beautiful female disciple of the Wangxian sect. Who would have thought that the high and mighty Qin Yi would follow him around all the way back? Now, even Sword Fanatic was being tricked by him. Since Lin Yu could even order Yang Qing around, how could they deal with him? The disciples could only clench their fists tightly. Some of them even swore in their hearts, "Life is full of ups and downs. Don't look down on a poor young man. Lin Yu naturally did not have time to deal with them. Sword Fanatic, who had tasted the sweetness of Lin Yu's words, was already rubbing his shoulders. Sir, how did you know about the heaven-derived sword technique? Sword Fanatic pursed her lips and asked tentatively. Lin Yu closed his eyes to rest and ignored her. Sword Fanatic knew that she could not ask too much, so she could only obediently comply with Lin Yu's request. Soon, Yang Qing came out. When she saw the scene, she could not help but frown. Since when did Sword Fanatic become so casual? You can leave first. Lin Yu opened his eyes and stood up. The Grand Master is waiting for you in the hall. Just as Yang Qing finished her sentence, Lin Yu had already entered the hall. It was as if he already knew the answer and did not need her to pass the message. Yang Qing was stunned. Lin Yu did not tell her anything else. However, Yang Qing did not dare to leave. She could only sit there and wait for him. Master, who is he? A male disciple asked as soon as Lin Yu entered the Grand Master's hall. The rest of the male disciples were unhappy as well. Only Sword Fanatic remained silent. She only looked at the place where Lin Yu disappeared and waited for him to return. Shut up. Go back and cultivate. Yang Qing said sternly. The group of male disciples had no choice but to leave, leaving Sword Fanatic alone. Fanatic, your goal is to reach the second level of swordsmanship as soon as possible. Why are you causing a ruckus here? Yang Qing said earnestly. Sword Fanatic was the most talented among her disciples. Naturally, she would love her more. Sword Fanatic said respectfully, Master, that man knows the problem with the last form. Nonsense. He is only a teenager. What does he know about swordsmanship? Moreover, the Heaven's Rise is a sword technique that was passed down by my master. Even I could not decipher the 10th form. Yang Qing did not believe her at all. Sword Fanatic repeated Lin Yu's words to Yang Qing. Yang Qing's body trembled as she quickly channeled the sword qi in her hand. Sword Fanatic knew that her master wanted to test Lin Yu's method. She quickly retreated a few feet away to prevent herself from being affected. In the Overlord's hall, a woman in her 30s sat on a white jade-glazed chair. She was dressed in a gold-embroidered robe that was tight to her body, outlining her graceful figure. Her fair, mature, and charming face was looking at the young man below with a serious expression. The ultimate dream technique is a top-secret technique passed down from generation to generation in the Forgotten Immortal sect. How do you know the key to it? Lin Yu looked at Qin Ji's cold face. This was indeed the expression that a woman who had been in a high position for a long time would have. Coupled with her powerful cultivation and her status as the sect leader of the Wangxian sect, anyone with weak willpower would have already fallen to the ground with their legs wobbling. However, Lin Yu was glad that he had inherited the mentality that he had cultivated after being trapped in the past for 100,000 years. He was not someone that Qin Ji could affect. Taking this woman down was the best way for Lin Yu to solve Xian Yu's problem. You're wrong. Lin Yu was not afraid of Qin Ji's sudden sharp gaze. He said calmly, I know about the flaws of the ultimate dream technique, not just the technique. It was Qin Ji's first time seeing such an arrogant person. How can there be any flaws in a technique that has been passed down for 3,000 years by our ancestors? Overlord Qin. Lin Yu smiled as he walked up the stairs towards Qin Ji. No one could challenge the overlord of the Wangxian sect in such a manner. Above the hall, an aura as heavy as a mountain pressed down on Lin Yu. However, Lin Yu was still calm and composed. He stood 3 feet away from Qin Ji and said, I advise you to take it easy. The internal injuries caused by your cultivation of the Great Dream technique last night will take at least half a year to heal. Chapter 6. Qin Ji was shocked. She cultivated at the Supreme Clear Pool, where only she and the Saintess could enter. No one else would know about it. However, this brat not only knew that she cultivated last night, he even knew that she was injured. Moreover, his estimation of the time was extremely accurate. She indeed needed half a year to recover from her current state. Who exactly are you? Who I am is not important. Lin Yu stood with his hands behind his back and said, What's important is that I know you're troubled by two things. Let's hear it. Qin Ji wanted to know what else Lin Yu could say that would surprise her. I don't like to raise my head to talk to people, so I'm walking in front of you. Lin Yu took another step forward and was only a foot away from Qin Ji. He could even smell the fragrance from her body. He pointed at the oppressive cyclone in the sky and said, I don't like to be threatened either. Qin Ji frowned. It was her first time being so close to a man, and she had never had a man before. Although Qin Yi called her mother, she was not her daughter. It was an affectionate title for the saintess to the sect master. Seeing that Qin Ji had dispersed the oppressive force, Lin Yu said, The first thing is that the Sea of Demons and the Crimson Heaven Pavilion want to rope in the Forgotten Immortal sect at the same time. They want you to make a choice, but you don't want to rely on any force. Even if the Forgotten Immortal sect is not as strong as before, it's very likely that it will be affected after the war between the two forces. Qin Ji's breathing became more rapid. Even with her cultivation and experience, she was still shocked by the words of the young man in front of her. Merging the sects is the top secret of the Forgotten Immortal sect. Who told you? Lin Yu shook his head and said, This is not something you should be concerned about. The second thing is that above the samsara realm is transcendence. You've been trapped in the nine flames samsara realm for many years. Not only can you not break through, but your cultivation has also regressed in the past half a year. Looking at Qin Ji's increasingly shocked gaze, Lin Yu said again, I can help you break through. This is what you should be concerned about. Tell me how to break through. If you lie, I'll make you wish you were dead. Qin Ji's eyes were filled with longing and warning. When she saw Lin Yu lower his head and smile, she realized that she was too excited. Just now, she had grabbed Lin Yu's collar with one hand. Now that their bodies were pressed together, Lin Yu's gaze was roaming all over her body. Threats are useless. You should know that if I'm not sincere in helping you, I can make you go mad with a fake method. Qin Ji wanted to push him away, but Lin Yu grabbed her hand first. As they struggled, their bodies got closer. Lin Yu sighed. If you can't even stand this little contact, then even if I tell you the method, you won't be able to do it. Qin Ji was stunned. Lin Yu continued, I'm here to discuss a deal. If you satisfy me, not only will I help you break through, I can even solve the first problem for you. Qin Ji had never seen a gaze more profound than Lin Yu's. His words had a kind of magic that made people unable to resist. They could only blindly obey. However, such boldness appeared in this youth, who looked like he was only 15 or 16 years old. Qin Ji asked, What do you want? Lin Yu smiled. I want to borrow the Supreme Clear Pool. Only the sect master and the saintess could use the Supreme Clear Pool. Qin Ji took a deep breath and thought for a long time before saying, The Supreme Clear Pool cannot be entered. I'll give you an identity for the time being. After the matter is done, I'll immediately take it back. In another hall of the Forgotten Immortal sect, it was the residence of the only Grand Elder, Xian Yu. His name was Harmonious Immortal. At this moment, in Harmonious Immortal Hall, Situ Ju was lying on the bed in pain. His left arm had disappeared. Beside the bed, a purple-clothed elder had a murderous look in his eyes. He used an entire night to quickly scab Situ Ju's wound. However, as the Grand Elder of the Forgotten Immortal sect, how could he not take revenge for the loss of his arm? Is this how you protect my son? Xian Yu's voice was like thunder, echoing in the room. Of the two people kneeling in front of him, one had already been trampled to death by Xian Yu. The other was crawling there, trembling all over. Sovereign Xian, please spare my life. Sovereign Xian, please spare my life. I really don't know where that person came from, and how he managed to avoid us and find the young master. You're saying that the Forgotten Immortal Sect's night patrol team exists in name only, and we didn't even know that a thief had snuck in? Xian Yu's tone was filled with murderous intent. I sent you to the night patrol team just to let someone cut off my son's arm? Sovereign Xian, please spare my life. I deserve to die. That person kowtowed repeatedly. His head was already bleeding, but he didn't dare to stop. Xian Yu was terrifying. Looking at the corpse beside him that had turned into ice, he was already terrified to the extreme. Forget it, you may leave. Xian Yu closed his eyes and said. That person immediately kowtowed a few times as if his life had been spared, and ran out of the door. However, suddenly, a chill spread from his feet to his entire body. His pupils dilated, and his hope of survival was once again shattered. In just a breath, his entire body was frozen, and he fell to the ground and broke into pieces. Father, that person really wasn't the envoy? Situ Ju didn't care about the life and death of the person beside him. He was only concerned about whether he had really fallen into Lin Yu's trap. Xian Yu retracted his frost energy, and looked at Situ Ju with a furious expression. He said resentfully, Idiot, the envoy's whereabouts are mysterious, and his cultivation is unfathomable. Even I am somewhat afraid of him. How could he be a mortal realm youth? Situ Ju spat out a mouthful of blood, and a sharp pain came from his left shoulder. His eyes were bloodshot, and he was filled with unwillingness. Father, avenge me! You dare touch my son? As long as he's still in the Hongmeng continent, he can forget about living for more than a few days. Xian Yu supported Situ Ju. If you didn't have a guilty conscience, how could you have fallen into his trap? I've said it many times, the little saintess belongs to the 7-Yi demon emperor. You can't touch her. Situ Ju didn't regret it at all. He gritted his teeth and said, If it wasn't for that little bastard, Qin Yi would already be my slave. Even if the 7-Yi demon emperor blames us, the unlucky one would be the Forgotten Immortal Sect. Father, we can go back. Shut up. Xian Yu stopped him from continuing. As long as we can't see through concubine Qin, we can't act rashly. If you continue to be so reckless, even I won't be able to protect you. Situ Ju didn't say anything. At this time, someone passed a message from outside. Greetings, Lord Xian. Speak. The little saintess has been sent back. What? Situ Ju jumped up and touched his wound, and he fell back down in pain. That person continued, Elder Yang Qing brought her back, and there's a youth with her. What does he look like? Xian Yu immediately asked. The person said, 15 or 16 years old, tall and thin, and extraordinarily handsome. Also, he acted intimately with the little saintess, and was seen by our people. Father, it's him, it must be him. Situ Ju said sternly. Xian Yu's killing intent filled the air. He actually dared to send himself to our doorstep. Where is he? Sect Master's Hall. Sect Master's Hall? Xian Yu hesitated slightly, but still stepped into the air. Chapter 7. In the sect leader's palace, Lin Yu was very satisfied with Qin Ji's arrangement. I'll go to the Tai Supreme Clear Pool tonight. You can come too. Qin Ji didn't like being ordered around, but Lin Yu was her hope for a breakthrough. She nodded and asked, Why not now? Lin Yu smiled. I think there might be trouble coming to me later. I'll have to deal with it first. Qin Ji was confused. The two walked out of the sect leader's palace and saw sword qi soaring into the sky. Yang Qing was bathed in the sword qi and was overjoyed. When she saw Qin Ji and Lin Yu, she quickly retracted her aura and greeted Jian Fanatic. Elder Yang's way of the sword has improved again. Qin Ji praised and envied him. Everyone saw her as the supreme sect leader, but no one knew that not only was she unable to improve her cultivation, but she was also in danger of regressing. I hope you'll keep your promise. Qin Ji couldn't help but remind Lin Yu. Lin Yu shrugged. He had his own goals. In this world where the strong were respected, even if he had 100,000 years of wisdom, he needed to grow as soon as possible. His cultivation had reached the reincarnation realm after 6 hours with Qin. Lin Yu knew that what he needed most now was to improve his constitution. The strength of his body was his constitution. The strength of his cultivation was his glory aura. The strength of his soul was his divine will. The strength of his martial arts was his cultivation method. Most people only pursued glory aura and cultivation method. However, Lin Yu knew that the constitution, glory aura, and divine will were all indispensable. Only by combining the three together with his cultivation method would he be able to reach the legendary realm. As for the treasures and weapons, they were just icing on the cake. For his mortal realm constitution, the Tai Supreme Clear Pool was the best place to refine it. Don't worry. My goal is the Demon Refinement Blood Pool. The Tai Supreme Clear Pool is not enough for me to lie to you, Lin Yu said. Qin couldn't be bothered with him. The Demon Refinement Blood Pool was one of the legendary 6 Forbidden Lands. She had never even seen it before. How dare Lin Yu, a mere reincarnation realm cultivator, go there? Greetings, faction leader. Yang Qing and Sword Maniac greeted in unison. Yang Qing looked at Lin Yu with a complicated expression. It's all thanks to Master Lin's guidance. I've benefited from it as well. If people knew that Elder Yang Qing was addressing a young man as master, they would definitely laugh their heads off. However, after witnessing Lin Yu's methods, the three of them didn't feel out of place at all. The sword addict lowered her head, as if she was afraid that Lin Yu would blame her for telling Yang Qing the correct way to practice the 10th form. She looked like a ripe cherry that was waiting to be picked. Elder Yang's recommendation of Lin Yu is meritorious. I will reward you accordingly, Qin said again. I also have something important to announce. Qin thought that since she wanted to give Lin Yu an identity, it would be less awkward if Yang Qing conveyed it to the 13 palaces. Surprisingly, Yang Qing was stunned for a moment. Lin Yu was right. There were benefits to bringing him back. There are guests in the Forgotten Immortal sect. Did I miss something? Before Qin could finish her sentence, a figure landed on the ground. Behind him were 3 Samsara realm experts. Elder Xianyu? Qin was surprised to see the Supreme Elder here. Greetings, faction leader. I heard that the Saintess was kidnapped last night. Elder Yang Qing brought the Saintess back this morning along with a young man. Yang Qing nodded. You're right. Xianyu had the authority to supervise the Forgotten Immortal sect. It wasn't surprising that he knew about this. However, his gaze landed on Lin Yu. He tried to hide the killing intent in his eyes, but it was still detected by Lin Yu. Xianyu asked, Are you the thief who kidnapped the Saintess? Without giving Lin Yu any time to speak, Xianyu raised his right hand and grabbed at Lin Yu. The light qi in his palm surged and the majestic aura was like a whirlpool, trying to engulf Lin Yu. Qin and Yang Qing were stunned. They thought that Lin Yu would be caught by Xianyu's sudden attack. However, Lin Yu seemed to be prepared for it. He took a few steps back to avoid the sucking force of the Yao Qi vortex. Xianyu frowned. He didn't expect his attack to miss. How did this thief dodge his attack? When Xianyu wanted to attack again, Qin stood in front of Lin Yu and said coldly, What is the meaning of this, Supreme Elder? Xianyu retracted his hand and explained, Sect Master, please don't blame me. The Saintess is a respected person. I heard that she was kidnapped by this thief. As I am responsible for supervising the Forgotten Immortal sect, I need to bring him back and interrogate him. The corners of Lin Yu's mouth curled up. He didn't need to step in. Qin had already said, I already know about this matter. Someone else kidnapped the little Saintess. If Lin Yu didn't save her, I'm afraid the little Saintess would be in jail now. Xianyu was stunned. He didn't expect Lin Yu to find Qin to get rid of suspicion. However, he still insisted, Sect Master, you might be fooled by his words. Why don't you let me bring him back for interrogation? Supreme Elder is really loyal to the Forgotten Immortal sect. Lin Yu chuckled. Xian Yu narrowed his eyes. If this person could trick Siduju, it was very likely that he knew his secret. Xian Yu couldn't let him go. Enough. I've already investigated this matter. There's no need to mention it again. Qin Ji's expression turned cold. She ordered, also, I've already appointed Lin Yu as the Forgotten Immortal Sect's Little Holy King. His status is the same as Yi's. No one in the sect can be rude to the Little Holy King. Yang Qing and Sword Fanatic were shocked. They were the ones who brought Lin Yu back. How long had it been since then? His status was higher than theirs? Little Holy King. Xian Yu's face was ashen. He didn't expect this person to be so powerful. Qin Ji was usually cold and only cared about her abilities. This thief could make her make an exception. What status was the same as the Saintess? The Forgotten Immortal sect had never had a holy king. Could it be Xian Yu looked at Lin Yu's handsome face? Qin Ji looked cold, but she was still a woman. Bastard, how dare you lay your hands on the woman I like? Xian Yu cursed in his heart. If it was really as he thought, his hatred for Lin Yu was even greater than cutting off his son's arm. Lin Yu smiled. He reached out and patted Xian Yu's left arm. Grand Elder, I'm in your care. Xian Yu recovered. He knew that not only could he not take Lin Yu away, but the Forgotten Immortal sect would not be able to touch him in the near future. Haha, the Little Holy King has appeared out of nowhere, truly a young hero. Xian Yu responded with a fake smile. Qin Ji wanted to take back her order when she saw Lin Yu's smug look. However, when she remembered that she had to rely on Lin Yu for her cultivation, she had to go along with him. Qin Ji said, Elder Yang Qing, please arrange a place for the Little Holy King. Xian Yu knew that Qin Ji was not going to bother with him anymore. He took his leave. Lin Yu smiled. He knew that the grudge between him and Xian Yu was getting bigger. However, he wasn't someone who would sit and wait for death. Chapter 8. Yang Qing nodded in response to Qin Ji's order. She recalled Lin Yu's promise to her and suggested, Sect Master, why don't you let the Little Holy King stay at my place? It's near the Sect Master's palace. Qin Ji handed the task over to Yang Qing, and the latter left with Lin Yu. Yang Qing did not say a word along the way. She knew Lin Yu's methods and temper very well. Now that he was on the same level as the Little Saintess, he was only second to the Grand Elder and the Sect Master. Naturally, she had to be more careful. Yang Qing said respectfully, the Little Holy King will stay here for the time being. I've already sent someone to clean it up. Lin Yu nodded in satisfaction and said, I'll remember the Elder's request. Lin Yu will remember it. Yang Qing's body trembled and she took her leave. The sword maniac did not move. She remembered that Lin Yu had taught this disciple before. She did not interfere and left on her own. Is there anything else? Lin Yu asked. The sword maniac suddenly knelt down and said, Little Holy King, please forgive me. A teacher for a day is a father for life. Get up. Lin Yu helped the sword maniac up and said, After I teach you the way to break the spell, you can tell whoever you want. I won't mind. The sword maniac finally felt relieved. Thank you, Little Holy King. She did not leave even after she finished speaking. Lin Yu looked at her with interest. Sword Fanatic pursed her lips as her sexy figure rose and fell. She took a deep breath and said, I still have many questions about the way of the sword that I would like to ask you, Little Holy King. Do you want to stay by my side? Lin Yu smiled. The sword maniac did not expect him to be so direct. She blushed and nodded. Although she only wanted to learn the way of the sword, she was still a girl who wanted to stay by a man's side. All right, but I can't teach you for free. Lin Yu placed his hands behind his back and said, You should know a little about medicine, right? The sword maniac nodded immediately. I know a little about the basic medical knowledge of the Wang Xian sect. Lin Yu said, that's enough. Help me prepare a stalk of heart-eroding grass, 2 immeasurable pills, and 2 beautiful flowers. Sword Fanatic did not dare to ask any more questions. He immediately headed to the Forgotten Immortal Sect's medicine pavilion and soon found all the things that Lin Yu wanted. Not bad. Lin Yu nodded with satisfaction. You live next door? Sword Maniac nodded and said, very close to the little Saint King. Then come find me in the future. Lin Yu released his glory chi, and the immeasurable pill instantly shattered, turning into a fine powder. Sword Fanatic was a little shy, but when he saw the pill turn into powder, he felt a sharp pain in his heart. She had spent 3 years accumulating merit points to exchange for those pills. Who would have thought that Lin Yu would destroy them just like that? Lin Yu knew what she was thinking. The pill powder rose into the air, and the beauty flower and heart-eroding grass were dissolved by the glory chi. Lin Yu bit his finger, and a drop of blood essence rose into the air. Then, his 5 fingers formed a claw, and the 3 ingredients were mixed in the center of his palm. A flame immediately ignited. Alchemy. Little Saint King, the art of alchemy is vast and profound. The slightest mistake will cause a backlash. Sword Fanatic wanted to persuade Lin Yu. Yang Qing had told her before that without more than 10 years of practice, it was impossible to refine pills. However, Lin Yu's hands were too fast. Sword Fanatic was dazzled, and her breathing quickened. When she regained her senses, a new pill had appeared in Lin Yu's hand. The pill's fragrance was restrained. Although Sword Fanatic did not know alchemy, she knew that the pill's grade was not low. How is this possible? Amazing! He could refine pills so quickly with his bare hands. Lin Yu was about the same age as her, but he gave her an unfathomable feeling. Based on his alchemy skills alone, even her master could not compare to him. What kind of pill are you refining, little Saint King? Sword Fanatic asked curiously. Lin Yu put away the pill. Poison pill. Sword Fanatic was shocked. Lin Yu smiled and said, I'm just kidding. Oh right, will you be going to the primordial duel? Sword Fanatic nodded. Master is very fond of me. She recommended me to go with her. Lin Yu recalled the 8 greatest secrets of this world. Now that he was free, it was only natural that he wanted to achieve the most powerful Tao. There were also those unclean things that had been hiding in the universe for too long. Lin Yu wanted to drag them out and have some fun. The winner of the primordial duel will be rewarded well. It'll be of great help to you. Practice the heavenly derivation sword art a few more times here. I'll come back later. All right. With Lin Yu's help, Sword Fanatic's confidence in the primordial duel increased greatly. In the United Immortal Hall, Situ Ju was brought to a secret chamber by Xian Yu to recuperate. He was puzzled. That little B** starred must have had an affair with the sect master. Otherwise, with his mortal realm cultivation base, how could he be conferred the title of Holy King? Father, I can't accept this. Xian Yu frowned. There's something fishy about this. He's not a mortal realm cultivator. To be able to dodge my all-out attack, I'm afraid no one below the Samsara realm is his match. Impossible. Situ Ju shook his head. I know. It's Qin. Damn it. She took over Qin's body, and her power increased greatly. Xian Yu was shocked. So that's how it is. How bold of her. With this, she's still afraid that he won't die. Just as he finished speaking, a young man's laughter came from outside the secret chamber. Who wants me dead every day? It's you. Xian Yu was stunned. He immediately walked out of the secret chamber and saw Lin Yu. He said in shock, Impudent! This is my cultivation ground. How dare you barge in? Even the identity of a little holy king won't be able to protect you. Xian Yu wondered if he should kill Lin Yu on the spot and end this once and for all. However, Lin Yu had already walked up to him and said angrily, Old dog Xian Yu, Do you not want this year's antidote anymore? Boom. These words exploded in Xian Yu's mind like thunder. He did not dare to harm Lin Yu. He subconsciously pointed a finger at Lin Yu and retreated. You are? Lin Yu stood with his hands behind his back. Why should I explain my identity to you? I sent you to hide in the forgotten immortal sect for 30 years. You couldn't steal the ruins of the End Great Dream technique, and you couldn't solve the secret of the Supreme Clear Pool. Now you dare to allow your son to touch the 7 Yi Demon Emperor's fiancé? You! Xian Yu was so scared that she couldn't speak. She originally thought that she had something on Lin Yu and wanted to kill him. Who knew that this person would come knocking on her door, and every word he said would turn her secret upside down. Lin Yu raised his hand and a pill appeared. A pill fragrance wafted over. Xian Yu immediately felt the poison in his body being suppressed. This year's antidote. It's really the envoy. Xian Yu no longer dared to doubt Lin Yu's identity. He immediately knelt down. The person could be fake, but the antidote could not be fake. Old servant Xian Yu greets the envoy. Lin Yu said indifferently, "Where's your son? Tell him to get over here." Sidu Ju was so scared that he crawled down from the bed. Still weak, he stumbled and knelt down. He could not understand his father. Didn't he say that Lin Yu was fake? Why was he kneeling down now? I'm already being merciful by letting you break one of your arms. Who knew that you and your father would not repent and almost spoil my plans? If Qin concubine sees through this today, you too will die 10 times over. Lin Yu scolded the two of them. Situ Ju did not dare to move, while Xian Yu kept kowtowing and begging for forgiveness. He was afraid that Lin Yu would crush the antidote in his agitation. Chapter 9. In the 100,000 years that he had been trapped, Lin Yu had learned about many people, including Xian Yu. Lin Yu knew everything about him. "Forgive me, emissary. It's just that you've appeared at the wrong time, and I was blind. I've suffered greatly from the poison of the dragon's poison. At night it's as if thousands of insects have bitten my organs. Please give me the medicine. I'll do anything you ask." Xian Yu's head was bleeding. Lin Yu said calmly, "Forget it. From today onwards, you're not to act rashly in the forgotten immortal sect without my orders. Take it." The pill flew over, and Xian Yu swallowed it. He immediately felt the dragon's poison in his body being suppressed. He knelt down and thanked Lin Yu. However, he was puzzled. Why did he give him the antidote so easily? Just as he had that thought, Lin Yu's voice sounded again. "Don't think that you'll be fine after taking the pill. The antidote pill was refined by me. You'll die from the poison whenever I want to destroy the pill in your body." When he finished speaking, he pointed at Xian Yu with his right hand. A line of scarlet qi shot out of Xian Yu's heart. In an instant, Xian Yu's mind rumbled. She actually felt that her life and death was in Lin Yu's hands. "Don't worry, emissary. I'll listen to all your orders." Xian Yu kowtowed a few times in fear. When he raised his head, Lin Yu had already left. He heaved a sigh of relief, as if he had just escaped death. Sidu Ju asked, still in shock, "Father, he, smack." Xian Yu slapped Situ Ju's face. He said angrily, "Do you know who he is? Lin Yu?" Situ Ju shook his head. Xian Yu's eyes were filled with fear. "Idiot, didn't you hear him say that he refined the antidote pill? The emissary this time is the weirdest great sage of medicine and poison, Qin Mo. No wonder he's in the mortal realm and samsara realm. This person cultivates both medicine and poison. He kills without spilling blood. Be careful. If you provoke him again, both of us will die." The sky gradually darkened. The mountain behind the sect leader's hall was the highest place in the forgotten immortal sect. It was the peak of a snowy mountain. Lin Yu stepped on the air and went up the mountain. The guards here had obviously been sent away by Qin Ji. At the top of the mountain, he saw a 3 feet wide pool. Cold air pervaded the air above the pool and mist curled up. It was hazy like the beginning of the universe, and it contained the will of the great Tao. This was the most sacred place of the forgotten immortal sect, the supreme clarity pool. At this moment, beside the clear pool, Qin slowly said, "You're here." Lin Yu nodded, took off his clothes and jumped into the pool. Qin face turned red. She didn't expect Lin Yu to be so frivolous about the difference between men and women, but she still reminded him, "The cold air in the pool can temper your body, but with your current level, you can only last for an hour." Lin Yu leaned against the side of the pool, allowing the great Tao of the highest supreme to enter his skin, continuously corroding and reshaping his internal organs. It was indeed as Qin said. It was already a miracle for an ordinary person to last for an hour. However, Lin Yu was calm. It wasn't that he didn't feel pain, but that his temperament had been tempered for 100,000 years, which made his endurance much stronger than ordinary people. "Take it off. Come down." Lin Yu curled his finger and said to Qin, "How dare you? Who do you think you're talking to?" Qin was furious. She was disgusted by Lin Yu's behavior, which was like a prostitute. Lin Yu closed his eyes and felt that his constitution was getting stronger. He was in a much better mood. He then said, "Put away your pride. I told you that this is a process to help you make a breakthrough." Qin frowned and put her hand on her belt, not daring to untie it. The yin-yang complement is the only way to make up for the great dream void art. Of course, you can still regret it now. Lin Yu didn't say anything else. He closed his eyes and felt the power of the highest supreme fusing with Qin's power. When Lin Yu transmigrated to this world, his body was still the same as when he was on Earth. Therefore, he made this deal with Qin. On one hand, he wanted to use the supreme clear pool to refine the body of Earth. On the other hand, he wanted to use the new supreme power to cover up Qin's traces. So, Lin Yu entered the pool as soon as they met, not giving Qin any time to notice. Of course, he knew that. It didn't matter what other people thought. The effect is not bad. My body has reached rank 2 of the mortal state in such a short time. Lin Yu nodded in satisfaction. He had been there with Qin in the past 100,000 years, but he was only at the mortal state back then, so his absorption speed wasn't as fast as it was now. Qin panicked when she saw Lin Yu ignoring her. "Are you sure I can go in?" Lin Yu was still immersed in the breakthrough of his body. Qin gritted her teeth and took off her clothes. She was afraid that Lin Yu would see her, so she immediately jumped in. She leaned against the edge of the pool. It was the first time she was so close to a man. Even though she was the master of the forgotten immortal sect, her face still blushed unconsciously. "Come closer," Lin Yu ordered. Qin's breathing quickened. She took a step forward and immediately felt a masculine power reverberating around her. "This is..." Qin could clearly feel that this power was drilling into her body, but there was no sign of it. "Is it strange? You're being invaded, but you feel very comfortable?" Lin Yu asked. Qin nodded, but her pretty face turned even redder. Compared to Qin's youth, Qin looked more charming. Lin Yu explained without any distractions. The ruin of End Dream technique only focuses on yin qi, which is suitable for women to cultivate. However, yin qi can't be born alone. The first 8 levels are fine, but once you cultivate to the 9th level, your yin qi will be too heavy, and your cultivation will reverse. Qin listened carefully. Although Lin Yu looked like a young man, his words were reasonable. This was also the reason why Qin was willing to stay with Lin Yu like this. "I'll give you yang qi to suppress the yin qi in your body temporarily, but this process can't be solved in a day or 2. Qin was a little anxious. She quickly said, "How long will it take to cure the yin qi?" Lin Yu estimated. "With the current yang qi of my body, it'll take at least half a year." Qin frowned. She clearly felt that this was too long. In fact, as Lin Yu's body strengthened, this time could be reduced to half a month. "I know. The Crimson Heaven Pavilion and the Sea of Demons don't give you much time. The Hongmeng Dipper only has a month. Qin Ji's heart tightened. The 3 sects were the strongest in the Hongmeng 100 sects, but Wang Xian was now the weakest among them. I've already given up on the Hongmeng Dipper. Lin Yu shook his head. It's not time to give up yet. At least you have me to help you now. Qin Ji's eyes lit up with a glimmer of hope. Although Lin Yu's appearance was short, it made Qin Ji change a lot. At least now, Qin Ji felt that the regression of her cultivation had disappeared. Lin Yu continued, "Come closer." Qin Ji gritted her teeth. She could already smell Lin Yu's breath. Her heartbeat accelerated to the extreme, but she saw Lin Yu's calm face. For some reason, she felt frustrated that a woman couldn't attract a man. Chapter 10. Lin Yu was the only one who knew that it wasn't the first time he was here with Qin Ji. He had met too many women in the past 100,000 years, and they were all of the highest quality. Now, he just wanted to get down to business. Don't let your imagination run wild. It will only slow down your treatment, Lin Yu reminded him. Qin Ji finally came back to her senses. Her neck was already red as if it was bleeding. She was being taught a lesson by a brat. Okay. Qin Ji gritted her teeth. She didn't know why, but she could only be an obedient woman in front of Lin Yu. Lin Yu was quite satisfied with Qin Ji's performance. My body will also become stronger here. Only when I become stronger will your treatment speed increase. Really? Qin Ji was like a little girl who wanted Lin Yu to nod. Who would have thought that the high and mighty sect master of the forgotten immortal sect would be subdued by a young man? I don't need to lie to you. Lin Yu stood up. Qin Ji was startled and immediately turned around. Level 5 mortal body. After breaking through 4 levels, Lin Yu knew that even if his endurance was terrifying, there was a limit to his body. His body would be damaged if he kept soaking, so he said, "That's all for today. Come and wait for me tomorrow night." Qin Ji closed her eyes and didn't dare to look at Lin Yu. She could only answer in a low voice, "Okay." Qin Ji opened her eyes when she heard Lin Yu's footsteps fading away. She felt the masculine qi that Lin Yu left in her body. What happened to me? Lin Yu went down the Tai Clear Pond and took the most secluded path. Although his business with Qin Ji was serious, she was the sect master of the forgotten immortal sect. Lin Yu still had to protect Qin Ji's reputation. He quickly returned to the 12th palace, the place that Yang Qing had prepared for him. At the door, Lin Yu saw 2 female disciples guarding the door. "Stop." The female disciples stopped him. One of them said, "The saintess is inside. Do not disturb her." Lin Yu smiled. So it was Qin Yi. "All right then. Inform the little saintess that Lin Yu is here." When the 2 female disciples heard this, they were shocked. They immediately knelt down and said in unison, "We deserve to die. We didn't know it was the little Saint King." Lin Yu had only been here for a day, so it was normal that these 2 people did not recognize him. He would not argue with the servant. "Get up." The female disciple was relieved and quickly opened the door. One of them said, "Little Saint, Lord Holy King is back." The 2 of them stepped aside. Qin Yi was originally talking to Sword Fanatic, but when she heard the servant's words, she excitedly stood up. As expected, she saw Lin Yu return. "I was so worried about you. Did Mother make things difficult for you?" Qin Yi's hot body pressed against Lin Yu. Lin Yu sized her up. "Your mother is very good to me. Have you recovered?" Qin Yi's face immediately flushed. She lowered her head and nodded. Then she said, "I heard that she gave you the title of Little Saint King. Mother has never treated a man like this. You are really amazing." Lin Yu smiled and said, "Maybe I have something special about me?" Qin Yi thought of something and said, "You are so naughty." Then she thought, "Don't worry. 2 years later, if 7 Yi Demon Emperor summons the saintess for marriage, I will refuse the marriage with my life." Lin Yu frowned and looked at Qin Yi in surprise. He had almost forgotten that he had walked out of a difficult situation and could not act irresponsibly. Brother Lin Yu, he is already yours. I will not let another man touch me. Qin Yi looked at Lin Yu with a determined gaze. He could not refute her. Lin Yu knew that he could not persuade her, but he also admired this bold and fearless little girl. He nodded. Qin Yi and Lin Yu spent some time together. However, due to her and Lin Yu's identity, they could not stay for long. Sword Fanatic is my best friend. She is also from the 12 palaces. I asked her to help me take care of you. Qin Yi bid farewell to Lin Yu. You also have to take good care of yourself. Lin Yu nodded. Even without Qin Yi, he would deal with the 7 Yi Demon Emperor. The Forgotten Immortal Sect was located in the Hong Meng continent. The Hong Meng continent was one of the 100 stars in the North Star Field. The 7 Yi Demon Emperor was the ruler of the North Star Field. Lin Yu knew that Qin Yi was only one of the 7 Yi Demon Emperor's fiancés. In fact, there were a total of 108 saintesses in the 100 stars and countless sections. They would be married to the 7 Yi Demon Emperor in 2 years. Whether they were willing or not, they were only cultivation tools for the 7 Yi Demon Emperors. If he could replace the 7 Yi Demon Emperor, these saintesses and the pure power of the Grand Supreme in their bodies would all belong to Lin Yu. After sending Qin Yi off, Sword Fanatic was looking at him in shock. Qin Yi did not tell her about Lin Yu. However, as a woman, Sword Fanatic's intuition told her that there was definitely something going on between Lin Yu and Qin Yi. Lord Holy King. Sword Fanatic snapped out of her daze. I've already recultivated the heavenly derivation sword mantra 10 times. Lin Yu saw that it was already late at night. He had indeed returned late. Show me. The 12 palaces' grounds were huge. There was an empty space of 100 feet in front of Lin Yu's residence alone. After a cup of tea's time, Sword Fanatic was sweating profusely. She looked forward to Lin Yu's guidance. However, Lin Yu shook his head. With your current progress, you won't be able to take revenge. Sword Fanatic's heart tightened. Revenge? How did the little Holy King know about her blood feud? Since I've kept you, I naturally know everything about you. During the 100,000 years, Lin Yu had learned about Sword Fanatic. He believed that Sword Fanatic was the most talented sword cultivator of the younger generation in the Hongmeng continent. However, Sword Fanatic's heart was shrouded in hatred because her family was exterminated when she was young. This caused her sword path to have an additional barrier. Sword Fanatic was even more surprised by Lin Yu's abilities. Holy King, am I really unable to take revenge? Her eyes glistened with tears. This 15-year-old girl had already grown into a voluptuous figure. However, no one knew about the burden on her shoulders. No, I can help you. Lin Yu intended to take Sword Fanatic for his own use. The universe was too big. One person's strength was ultimately too weak. He had to establish his own force eventually. Moreover, the Hongmeng duel was related to one of the 8 great secrets of the universe, the whereabouts of the Nirvana tree. This was also the reason why Lin Yu intended to go to the Hongmeng duel. Before that, he needed to have some people on his side. I don't mean to help you take revenge. I mean to train you into a top-tier sword cultivator so that you can take revenge on your own. Lin Yu said solemnly. Even if he wanted to recruit people, he wanted to recruit the most powerful ones. Sword Fanatic barely met his requirement. As for how high Sword Fanatic could go, it was up to her luck. Hearing Lin Yu's words, Sword Fanatic pursed her lips and half knelt down. Little Holy King, do you want to take me as your disciple? Lin Yu shook his head. I'll only teach you the way of the sword. Your master will still be Yang Qing. In your heart, you must still respect Yang Qing. Sword Fanatic admired Lin Yu's character. She immediately nodded. I'll remember this. Chapter 11. Get up. Lin Yu helped her up. At that moment, Yang Qing arrived. Lin Yu turned to Sword Maniac and said, "You can go back first. I'll teach you tomorrow." Sword Fanatic felt excited when he heard such lofty word. "Master." Sword Maniac bowed respectfully to Yang Qing. "Just like what Lin Yu asked her to do." Yang Qing nodded and asked, "Did you neglect the little Saint King?" Before Sword Maniac could say anything, Lin Yu spoke first. "She did well." Yang Qing let out a sigh of relief and asked Sword Maniac to leave. When only she and Lin Yu were left, she bowed and said, "It's about the little Saint King." Lin Yu picked up the cup of tea that Sword Maniac had poured for him before he left. He took a sip and said unhurriedly, "Since you sent your disciple away, I can only ask you to do one thing." Yang Qing's heart skipped a beat. She was 10 years older than Sword Maniac and was only 25 years old. She took good care of her body, especially her slender legs, which were the dream of many male disciples. "Stay with me tonight." Lin Yu put down the teacup and did not beat around the bush. "You've gone too far." Yang Qing was furious. "You still owe me an answer." Lin Yu smiled. "I can answer your first question. Your father, Yang Kai, was at the hill where you grew up this morning." Yang Qing's body trembled slightly. She knew that the hill was not only where she lived when she was young, but also where her mother's grave was. "This morning? Where is he now?" Yang Qing asked anxiously. Lin Yu smiled. "That's the second question." "You?" Yang Qing's chest heaved. "What do I have to do to make you tell me?" I said, "Stay with me." Lin Yu walked into his room. "Don't worry, I'm not the kind of person you think I am." As the door was about to close, Yang Qing gritted her teeth. She knew that Lin Yu was forcing her to do something. If she missed this opportunity, she might never know where her father was again. With a bang, the door slammed shut. Lin Yu lay on the big bed and patted the side of the bed. "Sit over here." "You!" Yang Qing was furious. She felt that Lin Yu was a bully. She was clearly the high and mighty 12th elder, but in front of Lin Yu, she was at a disadvantage. Yang Qing gritted her teeth. Her lips were so red that they were about to bleed. Her body was trembling as she sat beside Lin Yu. "And then?" Yang Qing asked angrily. Lin Yu held onto her hand. Yang Qing resisted at first. However, she knew that Lin Yu was amenable to coaxing but not coercion. She gritted her teeth and endured it. But who would have thought that Lin Yu would close his eyes and say in a daze, "No." With that, he fell into a deep sleep. Yang Qing frowned. She didn't know what Lin Yu was thinking. She moved closer and saw that Lin Yu's breathing was steady. He was really asleep. Did he ask me to come in just for this? Yang Qing's hand was still held by Lin Yu. She didn't dare to move. She blew out the fire in the room and closed her eyes. When Lin Yu opened his eyes, he could still feel the warmth of Yang Qing's body. She was sleeping soundly beside the bed. Lin Yu let out a sigh of relief. The sun of the 28th of July shone down on the room. "Looks like I'm finally free." He asked Yang Qing to stay because he wanted to feel at ease. After all, no matter how strong a man was, he still needed the company of a woman sometimes. Lin Yu sat up. Yang Qing woke up as well. She looked at Lin Yu strangely. "You're awake." Lin Yu nodded. "Thank you." Yang Qing felt uncomfortable because of Lin Yu's polite tone. Didn't he want to control others? Why was he being so polite all of a sudden? Lin Yu didn't know that Yang Qing was thinking about this. He stretched his body and got off the bed. He opened the door and let the sun shine on his body. Yang Qing could not help but stare at his slender back. She could not help but be mesmerized. "Hey!" Yang Qing only regained her senses when she heard Lin Yu's voice. "Huh!" Lin Yu said, "Are you ready for the Hongming duel?" Yang Qing didn't know why he suddenly asked this. She shook her head. "You should know that the Wangxian sect is no longer what it used to be. Participating in the Hongming duel is just a matter of participating." Lin Yu smiled. He knew about the Wangxian sect's situation. He didn't blame Qin Ji for her actions. What if I'm confident that the Wangxian sect will win the Hongmeng duel? Yang Qing was taken aback. Although her relationship with Lin Yu was a little strange, she still looked at the young man who was basking in the sunlight. That's impossible. The strength of the three sects has been accumulated over many years. The Hongmeng duel is just around the corner. How could you have the time to change it? Time is tight. Lin Yu knew that it was difficult. His cultivation level was not high enough. However, he could enter the Dao River after winning the Hongmeng duel. The Dao River contained the key to the 8 secrets of the universe. The Dao River would only open when the Hongmeng duel started. Lin Yu didn't have the chance to enter the Dao River even after 100,000 years. However, he was sure that there were secrets inside. I need a few helpers. With them we might have a chance. Lin Yu looked at Yang Qing. What kind of helpers? Yang Qing asked. Yang Qing was confused. She couldn't believe that she trusted this young man. One of them is you, Lin Yu said. Yang Qing blushed. Me? During the Hongmeng duel, the 3 leaders of the Crimson Heaven Pavilion and the 4 demon lords of the Sea of Monsters and Demons will appear. I'm not their match. Lin Yu said, I'll guide you in the art of swordsmanship for a month. The Heavenly Evolution sword technique has a variation. Yang Qing's heart skipped a beat. Are you serious? Lin Yu nodded. The variation is harder to learn than the original one. I hope you can do your best. If the other disciples saw this, they would think that the elder was crazy to believe the words of a young man. However, Yang Qing had tried the Heavenly Evolution sword technique that Lin Yu taught the sword maniac yesterday. Little Saint King, please enlighten me. Yang Qing stood up and bowed. Lin Yu said, There's no rush. I need you to find someone for me. Please tell me. Dragon Scale, Lin Yu said. Yang Qing was stunned. The elder of the 7th palace? This might be difficult. Go on. Yang Qing continued. Dragon Scale is a loner. Even though I'm an elder, I might not be able to meet him. It's okay, Lin Yu said, just find him for me. I have other things for you to do. Yang Qing was skeptical. She guessed that the second person Lin Yu wanted to find was Dragon Scale. However, this person was too difficult. He only cared about his blade. He was a person who loved his blade as much as his life. Ordinary people would not know what he was thinking. Lin Yu drank a few cups of tea. Yang Qing came back and reported, Dragon Scale is at the back mountain of the 7th palace. Okay. Lin Yu stood up and prepared to leave. Yang Qing stopped him. Wait, you're going to the back mountain? Lin Yu nodded. Yang Qing objected. That's where he practices his blade. Even the disciples of the 7th palace are not allowed to enter. You can't go there like this. Chapter 12. Lin Yu smiled. The people from the Forgotten Immortal sect knew about Long Lin, but he knew him better. Long Lin was one of the few people he found interesting in the past 100,000 years. However, Long Lin's interest was a little strange to the others. Seeing that Lin Yu did not care, Yang Qing was a little worried. I'll go with you then. There's no need for that. I have something else for you to do. Lin Yu was used to giving orders to Yang Qing. However, Yang Qing was used to it. Please tell me, Little Saint King. Go to the Yin sect and save someone. Lin Yu did not give Yang Qing a chance to ask. You'll know when you get there. Remember, you have to be there before midnight. The Yin sect was a small sect under the jurisdiction of the Forgotten Immortal sect. Although Yang Qing knew where it was, she did not know why Lin Yu wanted her to go there. You'll know when you get there, Lin Yu said again. Yang Qing did not think too much and left. There were 2 female disciples outside Lin Yu's residence. They were sent by Yang Qing to serve him. Ask Sword Maniac to come and see me, Lin Yu said as he drank his tea. The female disciples went immediately. Before they could finish their tea, Sword Maniac had already rushed over. Greetings, Little Saint King. Her petite but voluptuous body moved up and down. Lin Yu smiled. You're practicing your sword so early in the morning. You're very hard-working. Sword Maniac was surprised that Lin Yu saw through her. After she thanked him, Lin Yu said, "Come with me to a place." Sword Maniac did not dare to ask. However, when she arrived, she gulped and her heart started to beat faster. Little Saint King. Isn't this the back mountain of the 7th palace? In front of a tall mountain, Lin Yu smiled. That's right. The 7th palace's elder Long Lin is practicing his sword. Sword Maniac was shocked. Little Saint King, I heard that Elder Long Lin does not like to be disturbed. He does not allow outsiders to come to the back mountain. Lin Yu nodded. Not only do I dislike it, but I also hate it. It's time for him to spend time with his saber. Whoever disturbs him might die under his saber. Sword Fanatic's throat was dry. This was clearly such a dangerous place, so why was Lin Yu still so calm? Scared? Lin Yu smiled. Sword Fanatic gritted her teeth and shook her head. She felt that Lin Yu was testing her. But then, Lin Yu said, "If I let you spar with Dragon Scale, would you dare?" "No." Sword Maniac immediately shook his head. "The elders are very powerful. I'm definitely not his match." Lin Yu ignored her words and whispered a few words into Sword Maniac's ear. Is it really possible?" Sword Fanatic looked at Lin Yu in panic. First, he was hit by the first move, then kept dodging. When the 8th move was released, he counterattacked with the 10th move of the Heaven's Derivation sword technique from the west. She did not understand why Lin Yu was so confident in her. That was an elder-level figure. Moreover, Elder Long Lin was the most mysterious and bizarre of the 12 elders. Even her master did not dare to mention his existence. "Let's go." Lin Yu did not wait for her to react. He pulled Sword Fanatic into the back of the mountain. They had only walked 3 feet when they heard the sound of the wind around them. It was accompanied by a sharp saber intent. Retreat. Lin Yu held Sword Fanatic's waist and retreated. The moment the two of them left, a saber intent swept across, leaving a deep mark on the ground. "This is my forbidden land. Trespassers will die." The surrounding trees swayed. This sentence was carried by the wind. Instantly, leaves fell from the sky and the sound of the wind grew stronger. Chapter 12. Dragon Scale. Lin Yu's lips curled. "I've heard of Elder Dragon Scale's Berserk Blade. In Hongmeng, there is no other saber seal that can compare. However, I feel that the name does not live up to its name, so I came to ask for a duel." "Ask for a duel?" The voice was filled with killing intent. A middle-aged man stepped through the air and landed in front of Lin Yu and Sword Fanatic. There was a scar on his face. His right arm was bare and bound by a black iron chain. At the end of the chain was a black saber. The saber was pitch black, but it glowed with a bloody light. What a good challenge. Dragon Scale stared at Lin Yu. "Come." "Good." Lin Yu's lips curled up. He pushed Sword Fanatic out. She was shocked. Lin Yu said, "She's good enough to fight you." Dragon Scale narrowed his eyes. "A woman?" Sword Fanatic unsheathed her sword. It was also a scarlet sword. "Good sword." Dragon Scale held his saber horizontally. Sword Fanatic said respectfully, "Disciple of the 12 palaces, Sword Fanatic with the Crimson Moon sword, to break Elder Dragon Scale's Berserk Blade." Of course, she didn't dare to say such words. Lin Yu had taught her to say it. "Your cultivation is too weak. I've suppressed my cultivation to the 9th level of the spirit realm, just like you." Dragon Scale snorted angrily. His black saber rose into the air and slashed down. The wind leaves shattered and the saber intent spread. Sword Fanatic didn't make a move. Instead, she held her sword horizontally in front of her chest. With a clang, the saber intent hit the Crimson Moon sword. The recoil swept through Sword Fanatic's entire body. She flew backward and flipped in the air. Her Crimson Moon stabbed into the ground. She barely managed to stabilize herself. As Lin Yu had said, She had to take this move head-on. If Dragon Scale hadn't suppressed his cultivation, Sword Fanatic would have been defeated by this strike. Then, Sword Fanatic rose with her sword horizontally. Dragon Scale continued to attack. 3 saber intents broke through the air. Sword Fanatic had heard Lin Yu's words and wanted to dodge. With 3 whooshes, the saber intents swept past. The ground shattered into 3 pieces, but Sword Fanatic dodged them all. Interesting. Dragon Scale's battle intent surged. 3rd move. 4th move. Sword Fanatic dodged according to the method Lin Yu taught her. Lin Yu, who had been standing far away, leaned against a big rock. He held a green foxtail in his mouth and watched the battle with interest. Not bad. Lin Yu was satisfied that Sword Fanatic dodged the 7th move. This time, he wasn't just looking for Dragon Scale. He had another purpose. He wanted to let Sword Fanatic, who was protected too well by Yang Qing, experience a battle of life and death. Lin Yu swayed his green foxtail and dodged the saber intents. Almost there. Dragon Scale raised his saber from the east. Just as the 8th move was about to come down, the Crimson Moon sword in Sword Fanatic's hand suddenly changed. Her entire body's Yao Qi gathered on the sword. Instantly, the Heavenly Derivation sword technique was activated to the maximum. The sword Qi turned into dozens of afterimages and attacked Dragon Scale from the west. This move was so fast that Dragon Scale was caught off guard. Especially when Sword Fanatic changed her move. She kept dodging and seemed to be on the losing end. This made Dragon Scale's saber move even slower. Shing. Dragon Scale dodged most of the sword Qi. However, one of the sword Qi hit the hilt of Dragon Scale's saber. The outcome was clear. Dragon Scale put down his saber. Blood was slowly flowing out of his right palm. This injury was obviously not a big deal, but to him, losing to a little girl by half a move was already a great defeat. Very good. Lin Yu spat out his green foxtail and clapped his hands. Elder Dragon Scale, what do you think of this girl's sword Qi? I lost in strategy. Dragon Scale was obviously unwilling to admit defeat. Lin Yu smiled and agreed. Of course. I'm afraid Sword Fanatic wouldn't be able to take 3 moves in a head-on battle. Chapter 13. Sword Fanatic nodded in agreement with Lin Yu. However, she was more surprised that Lin Yu had taught her to agree with Dragon Scale. That was Elder Dragon Scale. If her master, Yang Qing, knew about this, she would be scared to death. You taught her. Dragon Scale's gaze fell on Lin Yu. First, you took my attack on purpose to trick me into attacking you. In fact, you kept dodging to exhaust my stamina. However, I'm curious. How did you know the flaw of the 8th attack? Lin Yu smiled and glanced at the black saber. Accompanied by the soul and refined by the blood. The person's name is Dragon Scale, and the saber is also Dragon Scale. Dragon Scale's huge body trembled. You! He was shocked. He did not tell anyone about the secret of the Dragon Scale saber. No one in the 7th Palace, or even the forgotten immortal sect, knew the name of his saber. Not to mention how to cultivate and refine the saber. I'm also a saber lover. That's why I could tell at a glance. Lin Yu explained. Naturally, he would not tell Dragon Scale that he had known him for 100,000 years and was even friends with him. Unfortunately, Lin Yu was the only one who inherited the memory. That was why he knew everything about Dragon Scale. That included the fact that he did not kill women. That was why Sword Fanatic's battle was not fatal. There was also the flaw of his frenzied blade technique. Dragon Scale naturally did not believe Lin Yu's words. In this world, not many people have the same eyesight as you. Dragon Scale looked at Lin Yu curiously. He did not ask who Lin Yu was or why he was here. That was why he was curious. Sword Fanatic, Dragon Scale, was only interested in sabers and people who knew about sabers. Lin Yu did not explain further. Instead, he continued, There are two flaws in the 8th and 10th moves of the Frenzied Blade 10 styles. Impossible. Dragon Scale looked at Lin Yu in surprise. You saw the 8th move, but I haven't shown the 10th move yet. Lin Yu raised his right hand and grabbed the air. Suddenly, a broken piece of wood was sucked toward him. Sword Fanatic and Long Lin were both shocked. Once he ignited the wheel, he actually has such skillful control over the glory chi? Long Lin thought to himself. 9 burning of the Wheel of Reincarnation was formed from the Yao Qi in the Dantian. When a lamp was lit, one's realm would break through a small realm. When all 9 lamps were lit at the same time, one would enter the transcendent realm. In the next moment, Lin Yu infused his glory chi into the broken wood. In an instant, wood shavings fell off and a 5-foot wooden blade appeared in Lin Yu's hand. He raised his saber and pointed it at the dragon scale. Come, I'll try it with you. Long Lin's eyes flashed. He was clearly more interested in Lin Yu than fighting with Sword Fanatic. Without further ado, Long Lin raised his saber. Lin Yu placed his right hand behind his back and held the saber in his left hand. The saber aura changed, and it was actually very different from Long Lin's 10 styles of frenzy saber. Long Lin's pupils dilated. Lin Yu was 1 step ahead of him. His saber will rose from the ground, reaching a full 10 meters. Long Lin sucked in a breath. He was too slow. He was only half a breath late, and the saber will had already slashed down. Long Lin raised his saber in front of him. Rumble. Leaves fluttered in the sky. When they slowly fell to the ground, Long Lin was already bleeding from the corner of his mouth. 1 move. Just 1 move. Sword Fanatic was stunned. There was a roar in his mind. Lin Yu threw away the wooden saber and smiled. Thanks for letting me win. The 10th style. Impossible. Long Lin's mind was in turmoil. He asked sternly, Why do you know the 10th style? Lin Yu smiled. I just evolved from the first 8 styles you just used. Long Lin's breathing was rapid. His Frenzy Saber 10th style was indeed a combination of the first 9 styles. However, Lin Yu only used 8 styles and was faster than him. Can you see it? Lin Yu was very satisfied with the current situation. If you can't see it, then take it that I overestimated you. After that, he left with his hands behind his back. Sword Fanatic quickly followed. Little Holy King, we're leaving just like that? Sword Fanatic still did not understand why Lin Yu came here. Lin Yu shook his head. Of course not. Sure enough, Long Lin's voice came from behind. Wait. Long Lin quickly walked over and bowed to Lin Yu. Long Lin understands. Thank you for your guidance. Sword Fanatic was stunned again. The most terrifying elder in the legends was actually so polite to the little Holy King? And from the beginning to the end, he did not seem to know the little Holy King's identity. He was purely bowing to a youth in gratitude. Was this reasonable? Saber techniques are broad and profound. If you have any questions in the future, you can ask me, Lin Yu said. No one dared to teach Long Lin the dragon scale saber technique, not even Qin Ji and Xian Yu. However, Long Lin was overjoyed. He bowed again. May I know your name? Lin Yu. After Lin Yu finished speaking, Sword Fanatic quickly added, This is the little Holy King that the sect master personally conferred yesterday. Long Lin laughed. All right, I'll have to trouble the little Holy King to teach me in the future. Lin Yu knew that the time was right. He said, Elder Long, can you show off your skills in the Hongmeng duel? Long Lin was puzzled. The sect master has mentioned this before, but those people in the Hongmeng duel do not have saber seals. Those who were good at saber techniques were called saber seals. When the glory chi was integrated into the saber, the chi saber that erupted was called saber intent. Those who were good at sword techniques were called sword cultivators. When the glory chi was integrated into the sword, the chi saber that they displayed was called sword chi. That may not be the case. When the time comes, there will be a good opponent waiting for you. As Lin Yu's voice fell, Long Lin's eyes flashed. In that case, if the Holy King wants to go to the Hongming duel, I will accompany you. Very good. Lin Yu looked in the direction of the 12 palaces. The others should be back. Long Lin and Sword Fanatic were puzzled. However, Lin Yu had already left. Sword Fanatic followed him. She finally knew the purpose of Lin Yu's trip. Little Holy King, are we bringing a lot of people to the Hongming duel? Sword Fanatic asked on the way. Lin Yu shook his head. Quality is more important than quantity. A few people are enough. Sword Fanatic pursed her lip. She was very happy because Lin Yu had also said that she would go. Although the members of the Hongming duel had already been decided by the 12 palaces, Sword Fanatic felt that going to the Hongming duel was the most fun for Lin Yu. The other people's previous arrangements were just for the sake of participating. When the two arrived outside the 12 palaces, a Nanming phoenix landed. Yang Qing and a middle-aged man landed. The middle-aged man was tall and sturdy. He looked honest, but his face was pale. It was obvious that he was injured. Greetings, little Holy King. Yang Qing saluted. The man beside her was stunned. He quickly bowed deeply to Lin Yu. So this is the little Holy King who saved me. Elder Lu, you don't have to be so courteous. Lu Wuhan was stunned. He was the elder of the 3rd palace. He did not expect Lin Yu to know him. He was flattered that Lin Yu knew him. Lin Yu continued, it seems that Elder Yang Qing has arrived in time. The remaining members of the Yin sect dared to offend their superiors. Has Elder Yang dealt with them? Yang Qing nodded. I have followed little Holy King's orders and killed them all. Lu Wuhan was grateful. I was careless and was attacked by the Yin sect. Fortunately, little Holy King, you have great foresight. Yang Qing had explained the situation to Lu Wuhan along the way. However, she was still confused. How did Lin Yu know that Lu Wuhan was attacked by the Yin sect? Chapter 14. I'm just guessing. The Forgotten Celestial Sect inspects the sects under them every year. A few days ago, the Hidden Sect summoned all their experts back. They even spent a lot of money to hire experts from other smaller sections. I don't think it's just to deal with Elder Lu's inspection. Lin Yu explained. Of course, he wouldn't say that he knew this day would come when he was trapped for 100,000 years. Lu Wuhan was shocked. His admiration for Lin Yu was obvious. There aren't many people in the Forgotten Celestial Sect that I admire. But now there's one more little Holy King. Lu Wuhan said sincerely. The hidden sects matter also involves other sections. I'll tell you when the time is right. Lin Yu said calmly. Other sects? Lu Wuhan and the other two didn't dare to ask. They only felt that Lin Yu was too mysterious. They couldn't help but admire him even more. At this moment, a beam of light shot up from the sect leader's palace. Yang Qing and Lu Wuhan looked at each other. Yang Qing explained, is the sect leader calling for an elders' meeting? Something big must be happening. Lu Wuhan bowed to Lin Yu and said, as long as you're in the sect, you must attend. We'll take our leave first. Lin Yu nodded. But in the next moment, Qin Ji's voice came from the beam of light, invite little Holy King to the elders' meeting to preside over the situation. In the forbidden area of the 7th palace, his dragon-scale blade art had improved. He was overjoyed. Suddenly, he heard the voice and smiled, good. Finally, an interesting person is here. He kept his dragon-scale blade and stepped into the air, heading towards the sect leader's palace. In front of the 12 palaces, Lu Wuhan and Yang Qing had a better understanding of Lin Yu's position. The sect leader used the pretext of preside over the situation to summon little Holy King. It's obvious that she already sees little Holy King as her confidant. Yang Qing sighed, little Holy King, I'm guessing that the sect leader wants to nurture your force so that you can fight against Elder Xianyu. Lu Wuhan's expression changed. The Supreme Elder and little Holy King met? Yang Qing sighed. Not only have we met, But we even had a conflict yesterday. Luckily, the little sacred king managed to dodge Xian Yu's attack. After that, the Grand Supreme Elder left after the faction leader protected the little sacred king. Yang Qing recalled the tense situation in front of the Grandmaster's hall yesterday. She reminded Lin Yu, "I'm guessing that the Supreme Elder will not let this matter go so easily. Little Sacred King, you have to be more careful when you go to the Grandmaster's hall." Lu Wuhen also didn't like Xian Yu. He said angrily, "Grand Elder always wanted to be above the Patriarch. This time, the little Saint King appeared out of nowhere. He will definitely deal with you. Elder Yang, please help the little Saint King during the meeting." Yang Qing nodded. Although Lin Yu was very satisfied with these two people, and from their words it was obvious that they already treated him as one of their own, he still said indifferently, "Let's go take a look first." Xian Yu had already arrived at the sect lord's palace. When he saw Lin Yu, he smiled respectfully from a distance. Lin Yu couldn't be bothered with him, but Yang Qing and Lu Wuhen broke out in cold sweat. Scary. The more the Supreme Elder acts like this, the more tricks he has. Lu Wuhen stuck close to Lin Yu, afraid that Xian Yu would suddenly attack him. Yang Qing followed closely behind, her body fragrance wafting in the air. Lin Yu greeted Qin Ji with his fist. The rest of the elders also looked at them. Other than Long Lin, Xian Yu, and Yang Qing and Lu Wuhen who were behind Lin Yu, there were 4 other elders present. The rest of the elders were not in the forgotten immortal sect. "Little Sacred King, please take a seat." Qin Ji gestured for Lin Yu to sit at the front, opposite Xian Yu. This was the most prestigious seat after Qin Ji. She then introduced Lin Yu. Other than Long Lin, the rest of the elders were unhappy to see the inexperienced Lin Yu sitting in front of them. Lin Yu knew that Qin Ji had intentionally set him up against Xian Yu. Yang Qing and Lu Wuhen sat down beside him, worried for Lin Yu. The sect lord must have something important to announce. An elder below Xian Yu said. Qin Ji nodded. "Great Elder is right. I have received an invitation from the Crimson Heaven Pavilion. Tomorrow morning, the sect lord of the Crimson Heaven Pavilion, Honorable Shao, will personally come to visit." Other than Lin Yu, everyone below Qin Ji was stunned. The great elder who spoke just now was called Mohe. At this moment, he sneered. "In recent years, the Crimson Heaven Pavilion has repeatedly opposed us. Now that the Hongmeng War is imminent, why is Honorable Shao here?" Lin Yu smiled. "Naturally, it's to test our strength." Mohe could not stand a young boy replying to him. His old face was slightly angry. "The Crimson Heaven Pavilion's strength is now above ours. I'm afraid that they will not take us seriously and will not deliberately test us." Beside Mohe, another blue-haired old man, the second elder Xiao Mingke, agreed. "The great elder's words make sense. Little Holy King's thinking is too simple." Lin Yu did not speak. Seeing this, Xian Yu immediately slapped the armrest of the chair. Mohe and Xiao Mingke thought that Xian Yu wanted to deal with Lin Yu too, and immediately gloated. "I think that Little Holy King's words are reasonable." When Xian Yu's words came out, everyone was stunned. However, they heard him continue. "My Wangxian sect was once a top sect. Even if a tiger has fallen from grace, it is not something that they can look down on." Xiao Mingke was a little confused. Xian Yu stared at him and said, "The 2 elders think that the Crimson Heaven Pavilion no longer cares to test us. Isn't that a little too arrogant? Did the sun rise from the west?" Yang Qing and Lu Wuhen were prepared to speak up for Lin Yu. Who knew that the first person to speak up for Lin Yu would be their number 1 enemy, Xian Yu? Qin Ji's beautiful eyes were serious. She could not see through this grand elder. However, she was more curious about Lin Yu's current calm appearance. It was obvious that he had already predicted Xian Yu's change. This brat, what did he do in secret? Qin Ji thought. Seeing that Xiao Mingke and Mohe were stunned, she tried to resolve the awkwardness and said to Lin Yu, I also think that little Holy King's words are reasonable. However, if revered Xiao Yao really comes to test us, how should we deal with him? The reason why she asked Lin Yu was because when they met for the first time yesterday, Lin Yu had told her about the current situation in Hongmeng. He was also clear about the troubles she faced. Lin Yu said indifferently, "Kill a few." As soon as he said that, the other two elders looked at each other. One of them stood up and bowed to Qin Ji. "No, the enemy is strong and we are weak. Little Holy King's actions will kill me." The one who spoke had a rough face and dark skin. It was the fifth elder, Xidagarba. Qin Ji gestured with her hand. "Elder Xidagarba, please calm down." She wanted to hear Lin Yu's explanation. Beside Xidagarba, the fourth elder, Yin Kuei's appearance was different. He was a middle-aged man with a pale face. His fingernails were blue and he looked extremely cold. Currently, he was staring at Lin Yu. "I also disagree." Qin Ji also felt that Lin Yu's suggestion was too much. It was not yet time to turn against the Crimson Heaven Pavilion. However, Xian Yu laughed and said, "I think little Holy King's suggestion is excellent." As soon as he said that, Xidagarba and Yin Kuei frowned. "If the enemy does not offend me, I will not offend them. If the enemy offends me, no matter how strong they are, I will kill them." Xian Yu bowed to Lin Yu. "Little Holy King is domineering. You are truly a young hero." Chapter 15. Lin Yu's expression was cold, and he did not speak. But Xian Yu said to Qin Ji, "Sect Master, I think we should follow the young Holy King's suggestion. If the unfettered Venerable Xiao is aggressive tomorrow, we should make an example out of him, and let him know that the forgotten immortal sect is not to be trifled with." Qin Ji only felt a buzzing sound in her head. She was even more certain that Lin Yu had done something to Xian Yu to make this grand elder, who had wanted to deal with him yesterday, follow him blindly. "Do the rest of the elders have other opinions?" Qin Ji asked. If they followed Lin Yu's plan, she was still afraid of offending the Crimson Heaven Pavilion. Grand Elder Mo he wanted to speak, but was interrupted by Long Lin. "I agree," Long Lin said. This was another strange story. Long Lin was only interested in sabers. Why would Elder Ji speak for Lin Yu? Mo he swallowed his words. Xiao Mingke, Xidagarba, and Yin Kuei wanted to speak, but Yang Qing and Lu Wuhan spoke first. "We also agree, young Holy King." Xian Yu was not to be outdone. "It's decided. Sect Master, we should think about who will fight the unfettered Venerable Xiao if he challenges us." Qin Ji looked at Lin Yu with narrowed eyes. This young man was calm the whole time, but the elder's decision followed him. She said, "What do you think, young Holy King?" She did not believe that Lin Yu's words would be supported by so many people. "We'll talk about it tomorrow." Lin Yu stood up and left the main hall. The elders were stunned. Xian Yu reacted. "We'll deal with it as it comes. Young Holy King's suggestion is the best plan." He laughed. Mo he and the rest looked gloomy. Was Xian Yu crazy today? "Fine, we'll deal with it as it comes." Qin Ji sighed softly. Lin Yu had left, and she was not interested in tangling with this matter anymore. She immediately ordered the others to leave. Yang Qing and the rest wanted to follow Lin Yu, but Xian Yu left first. "Little Sacred King, please wait." Outside the sect master hall, Xian Yu hurried in. Seeing that the others hadn't come out yet, he whispered to Lin Yu with a flattering smile. "Sir, how was my performance?" Her servile nature was very serious. Lin Yu took a step back. He could not stand Xian Yu's despicable demeanor. He said coldly, "Do something for me tonight." Xian Yu moved closer to listen, and her expression changed quickly. "My lord, are you really going to kill him?" "He's not as simple as he looks, but if you follow my instructions, you can find his weakness and kill him in one strike." Lin Yu flicked his sleeves and left. When Xian Yu saw the others arrive, he immediately stepped into the air and left. "Little Sacred King, What happened to the Supreme Elder? Yang Qing asked worriedly. He's fine. Lin Yu saw that Lu Wuhan had also come out. He said to Yang Qing, "Return to the 12 palaces and wait for me." Yang Qing nodded and left obediently. The rest were confused. Mo He and the rest wanted to test Lin Yu, but Dragon Scale and Lu Wuhan had already blocked Lin Yu's path. They could only leave with a cold snort. "Thank you, both of you." Lin Yu smiled. The dragon-scaled man did not say much. He cupped his fists and left. Lu Wuhan was still injured, so he said, "I have already reported the matter of the insect to the leader. Today you have saved my life. I owe you my life." Lin Yu raised his hand and gestured for him to dispense with the formalities. He said, "I'll need Elder Lu's help with the Hongmeng Dipper. Go back and heal." Lin Yu had already told Yang Qing to tell Lu Wuhan about the Hongmeng Dipper. He didn't want to waste his breath. Lu Wuhan nodded heavily. Lin Yu said casually, "Elder Lu, you're good with spears." Before he could finish, Lu Wuhan took out a broken spear. He sighed and said, "You have good eyes, little holy king. It's a pity that my spear is broken in today's battle." A 5th-grade spear. It's indeed a pity. Lin Yu smiled. This was good. He continued, after some time, "I'll give Elder Lu a new spear. It's probably a 9th-grade weapon." "Are you serious, little holy king?" Lu Wuhan's breathing quickened. "Only Qin Ji and Xian, you had a 9th-grade weapon in the forgotten, immortal sect." But Lin Yu calmly said that he would give it to him? "That'll depend on Elder Lu's performance." Lin Yu smiled faintly. Lu Wuhan immediately bowed deeply. "Thank you for saving my life and giving me a spear. Lu Wuhan will repay you with everything I have." Lu Wuhan did not dare to disturb Lin Yu for too long. He immediately excused himself. When Lin Yu returned to the 12 palaces, he saw that Yang Qing was already practicing with the sword maniac. Many male disciples looked at them enviously from afar. "Little Holy King is back," Sword Fanatic said happily. Yang Qing turned around and smiled. "Greetings, little Holy King." Lin Yu nodded casually. Seeing that the sky was getting dark and he had other things to do, he gave them a few pointers. But it was enough for Yang Qing and Sword Fanatic to practice for a few days. Late at night, Lin Yu saw that the two girls had no intention of leaving. He could only say that he was going out for a walk. In fact, he was going to the mountain behind the sect leader's hall. When he was halfway up the mountain, Lin Yu already felt a 1,000-year-old spirit covering the mountain. Qin Ji was already there. Lin Yu came to the side of the Tai Shang Qing pool, only to see the mist curling around, and a faintly discernible mature figure was already waiting in the pool. "You're not afraid of me anymore?" Lin Yu smiled. Qin Ji opened her eyes slightly and said, "Only you can come up here. If anyone else comes near, they will be killed by my spirit." Lin Yu took off his clothes and jumped into the pool. The water splashed onto Qin Ji's face. Seeing that Qin Ji was a little angry, he immediately changed the topic. "You must be curious about Xian Yu." Qin Ji wiped the water off her face. She felt Lin Yu's yang qi entering her body again. She blushed and said, "Little Holy King, you don't have to explain. Now, everyone in the forgotten, immortal sect belongs to you." Lin Yu smiled and looked at Qin Ji. "That's true." Qin Ji shrank back. "I'm not." Lin Yu shook his head. "Which one of your words is true and which one is false?" Qin Ji sighed. "I can't see through you at all." Lin Yu knew that this woman looked strong but was actually very insecure. He said, "You only need to know that I'm helping you." He looked down at the Wangxian sect under the night sky and chuckled softly. "Who can tell what's real and what's fake in this world?" Qin Ji repeated this sentence and asked, "Then, is it true that Xian Yu helped you? Come closer and I'll tell you." Lin Yu beckoned with his finger. Qin Ji hesitated for a long time, but she really wanted to know what was going on today. So, she moved closer to Lin Yu. After a while, Qin Ji said angrily, "How dare you? How dare Xian Yu betray the forgotten immortal sect? Do you have evidence? Qin Ji asked again. Lin Yu had expected this. He stood up and changed his clothes under Qin Ji's shy gaze. I'll take you there and you'll know. Okay, but you have to turn around first. When Lin Yu turned around, Qin Ji walked out of the supreme clear pool. The water stains on her delicate body had been evaporated by the Yao Qi. She changed into a tight black dress and said, "We can go now." Chapter 16. Okay. Lin Yu looked at the time. Xian Yu should have asked him out by now. Others might not be able to lure him out, but Xian Yu could. Because they were both traitors of the forgotten immortal sect. In the night, Qin Ji followed closely behind. Lin Yu led her to a bamboo forest in the back mountain of the Wangxian sect. It was pitch black all around, and occasionally they could hear the chirping of insects. The two hid behind a bamboo tree. The grass and bamboo here were denser, so Lin Yu thought they would not be discovered. Don't make a sound. He'll be here soon. Before Lin Yu finished speaking, they heard an old man's angry voice. Before the figure even arrived, a series of explosions of glory energy could be heard. Damn it! What are you doing, you idiot? In the darkness, a figure crashed into several bamboos. He staggered and stood up, shouting angrily. In the dark, Qin Ji frowned slightly. She recognized that person. It was the elder of the fifth palace, Yin Kuei. Qin Ji held her breath. Soon, another figure stepped through the air. It was Xian Yu. You can only blame yourself for offending someone you shouldn't have. In Xian Yu's right hand, a huge banner danced in the wind. Tonight, he wants you dead. Yin Kuei's cold eyes turned quickly. Xian Yu, do you know my true identity? Of course. Xian Yu sneered. Yin Kuei's expression changed. Then who am I? Xian Yu sighed. You're going to say you're the messenger of the Sea of Demons, right? Yin Kuei frowned, stunned. You know? Xian Yu said, the real messenger told me about your tricks. Don't worry. No matter what you say, you'll die tonight. The real messenger? Yin Kuei's heart tightened. Idiot, you fell for it. How could Xian Yu believe him? At this moment, his dragon poison had been suppressed, and his glory qi could circulate freely. It was all thanks to Lin Yu's pills. It was hard to tell who the messenger was, but how could the pills be fake? Rumble. Xian Yu waved the banner in his hand again. It's your good fortune to be able to die under my soul confusion banner. Damn it, damn it. Yin Kuei roared. Who the hell saw through my identity and wanted to kill me before I could? While Yin Kuei was still trying to figure it out, Xian Yu had already unleashed a series of attacks. When the attacks landed, Yin Kuei spat out a mouthful of blood. Are they dog-eat-dog? Qin Ji could tell that there was something wrong with these two. It seemed that Lin Yu was right again. Lin Yu shushed her and covered her mouth, saying, It's still early. Sure enough, as Yin Kuei retreated step by step, he actually held his face with one hand. Old dog Xian Yu, you can't even tell who your master is. I think there's no need to keep you alive. Xian Yu was startled as she sensed the strange aura on Yin Kuei's body. That aura was filled with icy coldness, as if it was not an aura that a human could emit. Sure enough, Yin Kuei's body was originally ghastly white, but now it turned from white to green. The veins on his arms bulged, and in the next moment, green hair appeared. Demonization. As Yin Kuei's voice fell, his entire body's aura surged again. 7 ignited wheel. 8 ignited wheel. 9 ignited wheel. His cultivation was originally lower than Xian Yu's, but at this moment, it was actually on par with Xian Yu. The soul confusion banner waved coldly. Xian Yu did not give the opponent a chance to counterattack. Black shadows suddenly shot out from behind her and bombarded Yin Kuei. Rumble. The sound of battle was endless. If it were not for the fact that it was late at night and they were some distance away from the forgotten immortal sect, they would definitely have been discovered. The ground where Yin Kuei stood cracked, but when the dust settled, his figure stepped out. Barbs had appeared all over his body, and he was already a green-faced monster with fangs. He did not look like the usual elder of the forgotten immortal sect. The messenger was right. Xian Yu frowned. Yin Kuei raised one hand and allowed the Soul Confusion Banner's demonic shadows to bombard him. Xian Yu was confident that no one below the Transcendent Realm could block this level of attack. However, Yin Kuei only relied on brute force to dissipate all the demonic shadows. His right arm was shattered by the demonic shadows, but as Xian Yu's pupils dilated, it continued to condense and instantly recovered into a new arm. Enhanced Resurrection. Qin Ji's eyes widened. This is the Demon Lord's special skill. Is he from the Sea of Demons? Lin Yu nodded and stopped talking. Sure enough, you're the traitor of the Sea of Demons. The messenger wants to kill you. Xian Yu sneered and waved the demonic shadows again. Yin Kuei let out a disdainful voice that was as sharp as a baby's. I didn't expect you to be so stupid. Don't live then. The demonic shadows fell, but Yin Kuei did not care at all. His whole body was bombarded by the demonic shadows, but it could not break his demonized state at all. However, right at this moment, a stone shot out explosively from within the pitch-black darkness, and it actually strangely fell onto Yin Kuei's lower back. Damn it, who is it? Yin Kuei only felt that his fatal weakness was hit. The hair and bone spurs on his body disappeared visibly, and his demonized state faded. At this moment, the demonic shadows had already slammed down. Rumble! Yin Kuei let out a shrill cry. Xian Yu was cruel and merciless. Dozens of demonic shadows slammed down. The roar was endless. After the dust dissipated, Yin Kuei's hands and feet were broken. He died on the ground with a lifeless face. The messenger is right. You will die if I keep attacking. Xian Yu sneered. Lin Yu had predicted everything tonight. He also told Xian Yu that Yin Kuei was a traitor of the Sea of Demons. The demonization he cultivated was not mature. Once he encountered continuous attacks, he would reveal his flaws. Otherwise, even if Xian Yu had more courage, he would not dare to face Yin Kuei in such a state. Xian Yu checked and confirmed that Yin Kuei was dead. Then, he kept the Soul Confusion Banner and left. Qin Ji wanted to stop Xian Yu, but was stopped by Lin Yu. It's not over yet. Qin Ji was stunned. As expected, after Xian Yu left, Yin Kuei's limbs wriggled on their own. After a while, he reconnected into a human form. Fake death. Qin Ji gasped. It was the first time she had seen someone fake death after being torn apart. At this moment, Yin Kuei slowly opened his eyes. He moved his neck, making cracking sounds. He whispered, "The situation seems to have changed. I have to go back and inform the Demon Lord." Haha, Elder Yin Kuei, what a coincidence! Lin Yu suddenly walked out from behind the bamboo, followed by Qin Ji. When Yin Kuei saw the two, his expression changed. He did not expect that after tricking Xian Yu, there were still these two. Sect Master, why is the little Saint King here? Yin Kuei suppressed the fear in his heart and asked with a smile. Qin Ji's face was gloomy. I should be the one asking you this. Forget it, there is no need to ask anymore. There was no need to explain what had happened just now. After Qin Ji finished speaking, she attacked. Yin Kuei might have won against Xian Yu in demonization. But now that his demonization had been broken and he had sacrificed a lot of his cultivation to fake death, he knew he was no match for Qin Ji. But Yin Kuei wanted to run. The Great Dream Ruin technique was a divine will attack. At this moment it had already swept past. Countless invisible ripples shot out in the air. The ground shook violently. Yin Kuei's feet had not even left the ground when he was cut in half. Chapter 17. Qin Ji walked over slowly. She raised her hand and the space in front of her collapsed. Yin Kuei's body was torn apart again. Lin Yu knew that Qin Ji's great dream technique was the bane of demonization. This was also why the Sea of Demons sent people to hide in the forgotten immortal sect. As long as the secret of the great dream technique could be unraveled, the forgotten immortal sect would belong to the Sea of Demons. Since Qin Ji could handle this, Lin Yu did not stay. He left first. Stop. Outside the United Immortal Hall, Xian Yu stopped. He heard a familiar voice and immediately turned around. As expected, Lin Yu had arrived. He clasped his hands and said, "Sir, I have done what you asked me to do." "Very good." Lin Yu said indifferently, "I have something else for you." Lin Yu felt that it would be a waste not to use Xian Yu as a pawn. "Sir, please give me your orders." Xian Yu did not dare to resist. Every time he saw Lin Yu, he felt a pressure in his heart. It was as if his life was in the other party's hands. How would he dare to resist? "You should know about the hidden sect's betrayal." Lin Yu's voice fell. Xian Yu was stunned. He did not expect Lin Yu to know so quickly. "Sir, you have great foresight. They have indeed betrayed us. Today, Elder Lu Wuhan was trapped and injured by the hidden sect. I want you to investigate," Lin Yu ordered. "Sir, you want me to go to the hidden sect?" Xian Yu asked. "No, I want you to go to the weapon refining sect beside the hidden sect immediately." Xian Yu frowned and did not understand. "Sir, is there a problem with the weapon refining sect?" Lin Yu said, "The Crimson Heaven Pavilion interfered with the Sea of Demons business. I need to solve this." Since Yin Kuei had been dealt with, Lin Yu was now the envoy of the Sea of Demons. Xian Yu immediately nodded. He knew that the Sea of Demons and the Crimson Heaven Pavilion were fighting in the dark. But the sect master, revered Shao from the Crimson Heaven Pavilion, will visit tomorrow. If I disappear, won't she be suspicious? Xian Yu honestly expressed his worries. "I will handle this matter. There's one more thing." Lin Yu's eyes suddenly changed, and a sharp light flashed in them. "Yin Kuei faked his death, and I've already taken care of it. But you didn't do your job well. If you can't get back the things that belong to the crafting school, you can bring your head to me." Xian Yu knelt down with a thud. She thought that she had dealt with Yin Kuei and that Lin Yu would praise her. She didn't expect that there would still be a problem. "Envoy, please spare my life. This old servant knows his mistake." Xian Yu kowtowed a dozen times. When he raised his head, Lin Yu had already disappeared. Xian Yu wiped away some cold sweat, once again experiencing Lin Yu's terror. The great saint of medicine and poison is everywhere and omniscient. He is indeed powerful. He didn't even dare to return to the United Immortal Hall. Instead, he left for the weapon refining school that very night. Lin Yu returned to the bamboo forest and saw Yin Kuei's head flying up. There was actually a final strand of energy floating in front of Qin Ji. Around Yin Kuei's head, there was an incomparably dark vortex that constantly swirled. Within the vortex, there was a devouring power that seeped out. Qin Ji stood there in a daze, motionless. Although her spiritual sense attack could restrain Yin Kuei's demonization, Lin Yu discovered that Qin Ji's spiritual sense was currently being sucked into the vortex. It seems that something troublesome has appeared. Lin Yu approached Qin Ji and saw that she was motionless with her eyes closed and her brows tightly knitted. At this moment, unfamiliar images appeared in Qin Ji's mind. She saw that she had arrived above a black sea. The clouds in the sky weren't white, but a grayish-brown color. They constantly churned, but no rain fell. Instead, the smell of blood permeated the air. In the middle of the Black Sea, on an island that emitted an aura of death, Qin Ji saw a pool of blood. In the pool of blood, a man was half exposed. His upper body was so pale that it didn't seem human. It was exactly the same as Yin Kuei's demonization. Just as Qin Ji saw the man's originally closed eyes suddenly opened. To be able to reach here with spiritual sense, other than the successor of the Great Void Dream Technique, I'm afraid no one else can. His pupils were filled with scarlet light. When he looked at Qin, she suddenly felt her spiritual sense tremble instinctively. "Who are you?" Qin asked cautiously. The man smiled. "You barged into the sea of demons, yet you ask who I am? One of the 4 great demon masters of the sea of demons." Qin's spiritual sense trembled. The other party gave her the feeling that his realm was much higher than hers. 4 great demon masters. There are no more 4 great demon masters. There's only me. Who exactly are you? The man didn't answer, but grinned. Qin felt that something was amiss. Just as she wanted to leave, she saw the space around her spiritual sense being instantly sealed. "Come here." The man's eyes locked onto Qin. A devouring power swept over, and Qin's spiritual sense was forcefully pulled towards the man. Oh no! Qin was shocked. She constantly circulated the Great Void Dream technique, but she was shocked to find that the Great Void Dream technique seemed to have stagnated. "No one can resist me here." The man raised his hand and grabbed Qin's throat. "So beautiful. I haven't been this excited in a long time." Qin was constantly being pulled closer to the man, but at this moment, the space between them shattered. A hand appeared out of thin air, pointing at the man's hand that grabbed Qin. "So there's an even more powerful expert." The man grabbed the other's arm with his other hand. Golden runes covered the arm, as if they had been lying in ambush. At this moment, they crazily poured into the man's palm. "Damn it, who are you?" The man quickly retreated in the blood pool. The golden runes in his palm drilled into his blood vessels. The man gritted his teeth and used his other hand to clamp down on the rune arm, directly ripping it off. The arm in the air was instantly devoured by the golden runes, turning into ashes. The aura of the Hongmeng continent. When did such an expert appear? The man watched Qin being pulled into space by that hand and gritted his teeth. In the bamboo forest, Lin Yu retracted his hand from Qin's forehead. "Thank you." Qin still felt a stabbing pain in her head. She slowly regained her senses and looked at Lin Yu in disbelief. "You hurt him?" Lin Yu said indifferently. "I just taught him a small lesson." Qin's face was filled with shock. The terrifying opponent that made her tremble was hurt by a teenager in front of her? "Who is he?" Qin asked. "The fusion of the 4 demon lords of the Sea of Demons," Lin Yu said calmly. "The 4 demon lords fought, and the winner ate 2 of the demon lords." Qin was stunned. Fusion. If it's true, once the Sea of Demons starts fighting, the forgotten immortal sect, Lin Yu shrugged, naturally, no one can stop them. "You already knew about the Sea of Demons?" Qin asked Lin Yu with a helpless expression. Lin Yu nodded. "The forgotten immortal sect, this fat piece of meat, has indeed become the target of the Sea of Demons and the Crimson Heaven Pavilion as your power has decreased in recent years. Then why do they still want to cooperate with me?" Qin was puzzled. Lin Yu smiled. "The so-called cooperation is just to make the forgotten immortal sect listen to their orders. Do you really think that cooperation is equal?" Chapter 18. Qin was speechless. As the sect master, she knew she was too naive. However, the forgotten immortal sect was weakening day by day, and her cultivation was regressing. How could the weak forgotten immortal sect have any right to speak in the vast Hongmeng continent? Lin Yu approached her and said, "Now do you know what the second thing I'm helping you with is?" The forgotten immortal sect can't agree to either side. Qin clenched her teeth and pulled Lin Yu's hand. "But if you can defeat that thing in the Sea of Demons, you must have a way to help me." "Why should I help you?" Lin Yu smiled and looked at Qin aggressively. Qin was stunned. Indeed, Lin Yu helped her get rid of the backlash of the void-ending Great Dream technique in exchange for the right to enter the Supreme Clear Pond. They were even now. However, it did not include helping the forgotten immortal sect change the situation. "I'm just kidding. Go back first." Also, do as I say for tomorrow's matter. Lin Yu suddenly smiled and gave Qin Ji some hope when she was about to lose all hope. Only then could he completely control the forgotten immortal sect. Really? Qin Ji looked at Lin Yu and saw him nodding. She let out a sigh of relief and left. She had always wanted to be strong and never thought that she would rely on a man one day. Moreover, he was only a teenager. However, after witnessing Lin Yu's methods, she was completely convinced by Lin Yu. She even subconsciously wanted to listen to Lin Yu. This was the attraction of the strong. It was human nature for the weak to rely on the strong to survive. First, I have to get the forgotten immortal, then break through the crimson heaven. There's also the thing in the sea of demons. Maybe it can help me cultivate that technique. If I can get the thing in the Dao River in the Hongmeng Dipper, I might be able to get the resources of the three emperors. That's the real beginning. In the night, Lin Yu smiled. Since he had walked out of his predicament with the knowledge in his head, he would feel sorry if he did not cause havoc in the universe. Back at the 12 Zodiacs, Yang Qing and Sword Maniac were sweating profusely. During the few hours that Lin Yu had been away, the two of them had been practicing their swordsmanship. Not bad, you've improved. Lin Yu's voice rang out. The two girls looked over and stopped what they were doing. The sword maniac hurriedly went to pour some tea. Yang Qing clasped her fists and said, "Little Holy King, are you too busy?" Although she didn't know where Lin Yu had gone, she was sure that it wasn't as simple as taking a walk. Lin Yu smiled but did not answer. However, Yang Qing did not dare to ask any more. Lin Yu took the tea that Sword Fanatic brought over and gave the two women some pointers on their sword Dao. Yang Qing's Tianyan sword technique was obviously better than Sword Maniac's. Lin Yu felt that the progress was too slow for her to keep suppressing her cultivation and practicing swordsmanship with Sword Fanatic. Tomorrow, after we're done with the Crimson Heaven Pavilion, I'll find someone to practice the sword with you. Yang Qing was curious. There weren't many people in the Forgotten Immortal sect who were better than Sword Fanatic. Lin Yu could tell what she was thinking. What do you think of Long Lin? Yang Qing was stunned. She suddenly remembered that Long Lin had spoken on behalf of Lin Yu at the Elders Guild. You can ask Elder Long to practice the sword with me? Of course, that would be for the best. Lin Yu nodded. However, Yang Qing was still in disbelief. Elder Long has always been a person who does things his own way. Will he really agree? Lin Yu said, "You can ask Sword Maniac about this. You just have to agree now." Sword Maniac? Yang Qing's heart skipped a beat. She didn't know what Sword Maniac knew. Could it be that Lin Yu had already compared her to Sword Maniac? Lin Yu couldn't be bothered with women's thoughts. Who's going to accompany me tonight? Yang Qing and Lin Yu were stunned when they heard Lin Yu's words. Yang Qing suddenly remembered the night she spent with Lin Yu last night. Although nothing had happened, if the Sword Fanatic were to find out, where would she put her face as her master? Little Holy King, please don't joke around. Yang Qing laughed. Lin Yu looked at her with interest. She sent Sword Maniac away. It seems like you want to accompany me alone. Lin Yu laughed. Yang Qing wasn't mature yet. However, her facial features were more exquisite than Sword Maniac's. She blushed and shook her head. I don't want you to talk nonsense. Plus, Sword Maniac is still young. She cares about her chastity. When Lin Yu heard Yang Qingpa's words, he felt as if Yang Qingpa was offering herself to him in place of the Sword Maniac. He teased, "Don't you care about your chastity?" Yang Qing's face turned even redder. If the other elders saw this, they would be shocked. They couldn't believe that Elder Yang, who had always looked down on other men, would be so obedient to a young man. On the 29th of July, Lin Yu woke up. Yang Qing was still sleeping beside him. This time, they were even closer to each other. Maybe Yang Qing's impression of Lin Yu had decreased. Or maybe she was too tired to sleep standing up. Yang Qing was now lying beside Lin Yu. Although both of them were fully clothed, It still made people's imaginations run wild. It's morning. Lin Yu smiled and stood up. When Yang Qing woke up and saw Lin Yu in the same position as her, she was so scared that she closed her eyes. She didn't dare to face Lin Yu. All right, that old bastard Carefree Revered will be here soon, Lin Yu reminded. Yang Qing bit her lips and stood up. She tidied up her clothes. However, when she opened the door, she heard Sword Maniac's footsteps. Little Saint King, the faction master wants to see you. Yang Qing wanted to close the door, but Sword Maniac was too fast. Master! Sword Maniac was stunned. She thought that Lin Yu was joking when he said that he would accompany her last night. Her master even helped her resolve the awkwardness. Don't think too much. I'm just here to look for Little Saint King before you. Yang Qing braced herself and explained. She glanced at Lin Yu and saw that he was still tidying up his clothes. She immediately became nervous. Sword Maniac was walking towards her. If she saw Lin Yu's messy clothes again, she wouldn't be able to clean herself up. Furthermore, she was the one who sent Sword Maniac away yesterday. If there was a misunderstanding now, wouldn't it mean that she was trying to steal her disciple's man? Alright, don't worry. Lin Yu smiled and walked to Yang Qing's side. Both of you are here early. I couldn't even sleep a little longer. Sword Maniac heaved a sigh of relief when she heard that. Yang Qing looked as if she had just survived a disaster. As a master, she still cared about her reputation. Lin Yu shrugged. He no longer cared about the relationship between a man and a woman. Perhaps there was no woman that he could truly care about. At the same time, outside the first palace of the Forgotten Immortal Sect, thunder rumbled in the sky. The clouds were getting thicker and thicker, blocking the morning sun. Qin Ji and the other elders had already appeared at the entrance of the mountain. When Lin Yu, Yang Qing, and the rest arrived, 5 figures slowly stepped out of the clouds and looked down at the people of the Wangxian sect. It's been a long time since we last met. Xiao Yao, honored warrior, is here to visit his old friends again. I didn't expect you to be so kind. Chapter 19. In the middle of the 5, an old man wearing a flowery robe laughed. He had a head full of white hair, but his skin was extremely smooth. Compared to a teenage girl, his skin was even smoother. He had white hair and a youthful complexion. Coupled with his exaggerated clothing, he was one of the 3 elders of the Crimson Heaven Pavilion, revered Xiao Yao. Xiao Yao Zun took a step forward and clenched his fists. His body was originally 10 meters away, but when he raised his hand, he was already 5 meters away. Distance shrinking. Long time no see, old friend. Your cultivation has improved. Elder Xiao Mingke clenched his fists and smiled. He was the only one who had fought with Xiao Yao Zun before. Most of the others had only heard of Xiao Yao Zun's name, but had never fought with him. Who is this? Honorable Freedom smiled and sized up Xiao Mingke. This king remembers now. Elder Xiao, this king used a little too much force when we were exchanging pointers back then. Have you recovered from your injuries? Xiao Mingke's eyes narrowed. The old injury in his body started to hurt. Damn it! Xiao Mingke cursed. They had agreed to fight, but Xiao Yao Zun had injured him badly. He had not been able to improve his cultivation for many years. This deep hatred, Xiao Mingke could only grit his teeth and swallow it into his stomach. He smiled apologetically. Xiao Yao Zun, you must be joking. I have recovered from such a small injury. Xiao Yao Zun would not let him go so easily. How about we fight again later? Xiao Mingke's face twitched. He did not know how to answer. The patriarch of the Xiao Yao sect didn't come here just to talk, did he? Qin Ji said coldly. She was already unhappy. He, of course not. Since Elder Xiao does not want to fight, then forget it. However, I have brought 4 disciples with me. Xiao Yao Zun raised his left hand and the 4 people behind him stepped forward. Dazzling qi surrounded them and a storm appeared. Revolving wheel, all 4 of them are revolving wheel mirrors. They are not even 20 years old. How can they be so strong? The corners of Reverend Unfettered's lips curled up. These 4 inferior disciples are the worst disciples of the Crimson Heaven Pavilion. With this year's Hongmeng duel around the corner, I want them to broaden their horizons and see the forgotten immortal sect. Qin Ji's face was gloomy. It was not difficult for the elders of the 12 palaces to deal with 4 revolving mirrors, but the disciples would definitely face the disciples. Among the disciples of the forgotten immortal sect, there was no one who could go against them. This is not the place for a martial arts competition. Why don't you invite us to the Forgotten Immortals Terrace to have some fun? The unfettered sovereign spoke again. The faces of the several elders changed. They didn't expect that while they were still trying to think of a way, revered freedom wouldn't give them any chance to refuse the competition. Then please. Qin Ji frowned, but when she saw that Lin Yu had arrived, she felt relieved for some reason. She raised her hand, and everyone headed for the 7th palace. The Forgotten Immortals Terrace was in the middle of the mountain range of the Forgotten Immortal sect. It was a huge mountain between the 7th and 6th palaces. The huge mountain was cut in half by someone, and it became a broken mountain that was 100 feet wide. The broken mountain was in the center of the Forgotten Immortal sect, and many disciples liked to spar there. Because of the abundant Yao Qi and the broken mountain's sturdiness, it had become a sacred place for martial arts competitions in the Forgotten Immortal sect for many years. Since it's a martial arts competition, I must warn you that there are rules on the Forgotten Immortals Terrace. Reverend Unfettered and the others arrived, and then said to the 4 disciples behind him, "Once you're on the Forgotten Immortals Terrace, life and death are not a concern. It would be best if you win, but if you lose, prepare to die." He said it casually, but the 4 of them sneered at the same time. The 4 of them were 3 men and 1 woman. The woman was plump, but her Yao Qi was violent and violent. She was obviously a ruthless person. Of the other 3, 2 were tall and 1 was short. They didn't look like people to mess with. Especially after Reverend Unfettered finished speaking, the thousands of disciples present were all nervous. Reverend Unfettered stood with his hands behind his back. "I've brought my inferior disciple here to broaden her horizons. I hope Patriarch Qin won't disappoint us." "How dare you, Patriarch Xiao Yao? Do you really think there's no one in the Forgotten Immortal sect?" The 4th elder, Xidagarba, said angrily. "I alone am enough to deal with the 4 of you." The 4 of them didn't say anything, and looked at Xidagarba as if he was an idiot. Reverend Unfettered stepped back with a half-smile. "You're so bold, Patriarch. It's a pity that today's competition is between disciples. If you're willing, I can play with you." Reverend Unfettered seemed arrogant, and he didn't know when to stop. But when he said that, not many patriarchs dared to say anything. Especially Xidagarba. He wanted to bite the bullet, but Xiao Minke grabbed his hand and shook his head, indicating that he shouldn't act rashly. Long Lin stood next to Lin Yu and looked at Lin Yu. He also saw Lin Yu shake his head. Otherwise, he would have already unsheathed his dragon scale blade. Half a step away from the transcendent level, Patriarch Xiao Yao, you do have the right to be arrogant. Qin Ji smiled and looked at Reverend Unfettered. Reverend Unfettered was startled and suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head. Great dream of the ruins technique. Stand up, Patriarch Xiao Yao. Don't fall down in the battle later. Qin Ji smiled. Seeing Reverend Unfettered stumble, the other patriarchs and patriarchs were delighted. Patriarch Xiao Yao is mighty. Patriarch Qin is indeed powerful. I also heard that great Elder Xian Yu of the Forgotten Immortal sect is as strong as Patriarch Qin. I wonder why he's not here today? Reverend Unfettered retorted. The Crimson Heaven Pavilion had already investigated the Forgotten Immortal sect, and they knew that Xian Yu and Qin Ji didn't get along. Great Elder Xian Yu is not in the sect. Otherwise, he would have already competed with Patriarch Xiao Yao. Qin Ji said calmly. Lin Yu had already told her about Xian Yu, but she didn't know why Lin Yu had sent Xian Yu to the crafting sect. She calculated the time. He should be in the crafting sect now. Since Great Elder Xian Yu is not here, let's not waste time. Reverend Unfettered said, 9 sparrows, you go first. Let the elites of the Forgotten Immortal sect teach you well. Behind him, the only female disciple stepped forward. The ground shook. She bowed and said, Disciple of the Xiao Yao sect of the Crimson Heaven Pavilion, 9 sparrows, ignited my chakra to challenge the elites of the Forgotten Immortal sect. Her fat body shot up and landed in the middle of the Forgotten Immortal stage. Her whole body was surrounded by murky chi. She stood with her hands behind her back, and the ground cracked. Even though she was a woman, the disciples of the Forgotten Immortal sect felt great pressure. Who's going to fight? Second Patriarch, I think the disciples of your palace can try. Forget it. Lu Wuhan, your disciples are the strongest. You go first. Lu Wuhan frowned. He wanted to refuse, but in the current situation, the 12 palaces didn't have anyone who could fight. The patriarchs could fight, but the disciples were like a fault. In the past few years, the Forgotten Immortal sect had been declining, and the quality of the disciples had dropped. Chapter 20. Lu Wuhan thought of Lin Yu and couldn't help but sigh. Little Holy King's foresight is truly godly. This Crimson Heaven Pavilion didn't come earlier or later, but now it's here to provoke a battle. The elders looked at Lin Yu, only to see him hiding in the back. Looking closely, he was whispering to Sword Maniac. Qin Ji also looked over. She didn't expect Lin Yu to play with women at such a crucial time. This guy. Qin Ji looked at him unhappily. Lin Yu also noticed and smiled, whispering to Sword Maniac, Do you remember what I said just now? Sword Maniac nodded. At this time, Second Elder Xiao Mingke came over, clasping his hands in front of Lin Yu. Little Holy King's methods are impressive. What countermeasures do we have now? Lin Yu smiled. Didn't you disagree with my words yesterday? Why are you asking me now? Xiao Mingke was stunned. He knew that he had said something wrong yesterday, and Lin Yu was still holding a grudge. Besides Xiao Mingke, Mo He, who had been thinking about the situation, also walked over and whispered, Little Holy King, Sect Master has already told us about Fifth Elder. And then? Lin Yu smiled faintly. He didn't expect Qin Ji to be so obedient. Not only did she take care of Xian Yu's whereabouts, she even took care of the dead Yin Kuei. Mo He immediately said, Fortunately, Little Holy King saw that something was wrong with Yin Kuei. Otherwise we would still be in the dark. Xiao Mingke agreed. Previously, Yin Kuei tempted us to oppose Little Holy King. We are old and blind, so we have let Little Holy King down. Lin Yu shrugged. Don't worry, I didn't take it to heart. Whether or not it was Yin Kuei's idea was no longer important. Lin Yu had gone through 100,000 years of experience. Other than becoming more and more arrogant, he had become more open-minded in other aspects of life. Xiao Mingke and Mo He were overjoyed. On the other side, Xidigarba saw this and cursed, These 2 bastards didn't call me. Lin Yu was like the sun at noon. Qin Ji and Xian Yu both supported him. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that he was the master of the Forgotten Immortal sect now. But the most terrifying thing was that this person had only appeared for 2 days, and he already had such great ability. It was too terrifying. Yesterday, Xidigarba had thought about it all night. The more he thought about it, the more worried he became. During the day, when he wanted to discuss it with Yin Kuei, who knew that Yin Kuei was already dead. Who knows if it's a real traitor or a fake traitor? Xidigarba sucked in a breath of air. Qin Ji had determined that Yin Kuei was a traitor and had immediately killed him. But what if Yin Kuei was fake? Wasn't he the person who offended SS? He S's? He, Egarbus he. Holy, holy king, we now, he. Tts he. Lin Yu smiled and thought, it seems that these three old guys are still the kind of people who sail with the wind. Elder Xidagarba, Spring Breeze House's Xiao Chui is pregnant some time ago. Lin Yu whispered as he approached Xidagarba. Xidagarba was stunned. Holy king, don't tell the sect master about this. Not only was his back sweating, but his forehead was also covered in sweat. Why was it that other people's allegiance to Lin Yu was different from his? Lin Yu saw that the other party had misunderstood and smiled. Don't be too nervous. What I mean is, although Xiao Chui promised you that she wouldn't receive any more guests, there are exceptions to everything. Xidagarba's eyes turned. His heart felt like it was being stabbed. Lin Yu's words were vague, but he was an elder. No matter how stupid he was, he couldn't not understand the meaning behind Lin Yu's words. How did you know, Holy King? You don't have to worry about that. Since the elders know who to follow in the future, I will naturally help you. Xidagarba looked around. Fortunately, Lin Yu had pulled him away and his voice was not loud. Otherwise, it would have been heard. He whispered, Holy King, if this is true, I will make sure that bitch dies a horrible death. Don't kill too much. Lin Yu said, after the investigation, deal with it coldly. Xidagarba calmed down. Holy King is right. He was no longer just afraid of Lin Yu. He was grateful. Great Elder, Second Elder, do you have a suitable candidate? Lin Yu stood with his hands behind his back. The two shook their heads. Then don't let others wait. Sword Maniac, you go. Lin Yu smiled. He and the others were stunned. Sword Maniac's cultivation was still far from the wheel revolution. Qinji looked over. Since Sword Maniac had agreed, she did not dare to oppose Lin Yu's decision. Junior Sister Maniac, don't go. That demoness is very scary. Seeing that Lin Yu wanted Sword Maniac to fight, many male disciples tried to stop him. Most of them looked at Lin Yu with hatred. Junior Sister, you will die if you go. Don't trust Holy King. But no matter what they said, the sword fanatic ignored them. Her eyes were constantly looking at Nine Sparrows as she digested Lin Yu's words. I am Elder Yang Qing's disciple, Sword Maniac. Third Transformation Realm. Please enlighten me. Nine Sparrows sneered. Your forgotten immortal sect has really declined. Third Transformation Realm. You can't even take one move from me. Are you here to die? She did not lower her voice. She was not only talking to Sword Maniac, but also to the rest of the forgotten immortal sect. It's all Holy King's fault. Sigh. Although we are useless, Holy King should not send Junior Sister Maniac to her death. The group of male disciples complained. He snorted. A bunch of trash. I have taught you for so many years, but you are only at this level. Now you don't dare to fight for the sect, and you dare to blame Holy King? He's face darkened. These idiots were bad-mouthing Lin Yu. Were they trying to kill him now? He scolded them as much as he could. He only hoped that Lin Yu would not blame him. Yang Qing was also worried. She stood beside Lin Yu. Is it really okay? Why don't you guess? Lin Yu smiled. There were many things that could be figured out after watching. Sword Maniac unsheathed her Crimson Moon sword. Come on. If you want to die, I won't stop you. Nine Sparrows stepped forward. The ground shook and Yao Qi spread out. It was like maggots on the ground, trying to devour Sword Maniac. 3 steps of Qian, 6 steps of Tremor, attack. Sword Maniac chanted in her heart. Her body suddenly changed. She dodged the Yao Qi and appeared in a safe place. She immediately used the Heavenly Evolution Sword technique, and a sword aura shot up to the sky. 9th blade. With a whoosh, the sword aura fell. 9 Sparrows did not expect her attack to miss. She even gave Sword Maniac a chance to attack. So what if I take one of your attacks? 9 Sparrows raised her right hand. Her thick palm was like a steel wall. With a clang, the sword aura hit her palm. 9 Sparrows did not even take a step back. It's my turn. Just as 9 Sparrows finished speaking, she did not expect Sword Maniac's second attack. On the ground, 3 sword auras shot out. You are quite fast. 9 Sparrows did not expect to be suppressed by Sword Maniac. She spread her legs and roared. A bell-shaped wall of air appeared around her body. Chapter 21. 7 Steps of Can, 5 Steps of DUI, 10 Steps of East. Sword Fanatic infused all her energy into the Crimson Moon sword. She knew that once her attack weakened, she would not be able to block 9 Sparrows' next attack. Sword Fanatic kept reciting the method Lin Yu taught him in his mind. His figure disappeared again, and he slashed down again from a strange position. It's useless. I heard that this is a technique passed down from the Crimson Heaven Pavilion, the inextinguishable Chi Bell. It's not something that Junior Sister Fanatic's sword Chi can break. Lin Yu sat on a chair brought by a disciple and drank the tea that Yang Qing brewed. He and the others were shocked to see this. Who was Yang Qing? The only female elder of the 12 palaces had always looked down on men and did not put them in her eyes. But what was going on now? Why was she acting like she was serving Lin Yu? Do you have any questions? Lin Yu put down his teacup. He immediately said, Sword Fanatic, this battle has exceeded our expectations. You can stop now. Lin Yu shook his head. Qin Ji stood in front and watched Sword Fanatic confidently. What is she looking for? No, she already knows. As expected, Sword Fanatic shot out her sword. The sword Qi came from an inconspicuous angle and was only 3 feet away from 9 Sparrows. Impossible! 9 Sparrows immediately tried to block the attack. However, it was too late. The sword Qi pierced through her right shoulder. 9 Sparrows was forced to take a few steps back. Her right shoulder was already bleeding profusely. Amazing! Qin Ji immediately said, Sword Fanatic, come down. She could see that Sword Fanatic had used up all her glory Qi and could not fight anymore. Lin Yu was very satisfied with Qin Ji's reaction. As the master of the sect, she was quite observant. Little Sacred King, I'm back. Sword Fanatic breathed quickly. Her lips were slightly pale. However, Lin Yu saw that her eyes were filled with excitement. It was obvious that she enjoyed the battle. Are you happy? Lin Yu put down his teacup. Sword Fanatic nodded and looked at Yang Qing. She finally forgot about her master and went to report the good news to Lin Yu. Sword Maniac said in a trembling voice, Master. Yang Qing sighed in her heart. However, she still felt a little guilty when she saw the Sword Maniac leaving last night. She smiled and said, You have done well. You have absorbed the teachings of the Little Sacred King. Sword Maniac heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Yu said indifferently, Go and rest. At the front, Honorable Xiaoyao's face was gloomy. If Qin Ji did not let Sword Maniac retreat, he would have 9 Sparrows take his life. But in the current situation, Sword Maniac was unwilling to be overbearing when he had the upper hand, so he stopped when it was appropriate. The experts of the Forgotten Immortal sect have really opened my eyes. Unfettered Venerable smiled and said to another man, You go for the second battle. 9 Sparrows returned with injuries. He lowered his head and apologized to revered Xiaoyao, Master, that girl can see the flaws in my moves. I can see that, said Qinyi. The unfettered sovereign looked at the sword addict in the distance and saw her sitting obediently next to a young man. The young man was drinking the tea that Yang Qing served him. Unfettered Venerable was surprised. Yang Qing is serving tea to a kid? Strange. Sword Maniac looks like that too. Could it be that the one who broke your technique was not Sword Maniac, but that young man? Unfettered Venerable retracted his gaze. On the Forgotten Immortal stage, the second person to fight was a tall and skinny man. He bowed to the crowd and said, 5 ignited chakra, Gudan. I am here to fight the disciples of the forgotten immortal sect. He is stronger than the woman just now. These 4 people are stronger than the previous one. I did not see how Junior Sister Maniac won just now. Are we going to send Junior Sister Maniac again? The elders were still flattering Lin Yu. It was really beyond their expectations that Sword Maniac could win. Theoretically speaking, with Sword Maniac's current realm, he couldn't even take one move from 9 sparrows. However, Lin Yu's combat skills were not only limited to his cultivation realm. Little Sacred King, who should we send for the next battle? Yeah. It is already a miracle that Sword Maniac won. Lin Yu stretched. The disciples of the 12 palaces won't be able to fight. The elders frowned. Lin Yu was telling the truth. But who else could fight other than the disciples of the 12 palaces? Unexpectedly, Lin Yu stood up and said, I'm going to play. His words were light and indifferent, but it caused the others' hearts to tighten. Qin Ji heard him and said, No, you are only a ignited chakra now. Lin Yu smiled. Have you forgotten that I have a battle physique and divine will? Qin Ji recalled that Lin Yu's battle physique had reached a new level last night. Below the Transcendence realm, few would cultivate their battle physique. However, Lin Yu cultivated his cultivation, battle physique, and divine will at the same time. Qin Ji didn't know how powerful Lin Yu's divine will was. However, she knew that Lin Yu's divine will could reach the sea of demons and save her. She knew that Lin Yu's divine will was only at the 100-year spiritual realm. It had yet to reach the salvation realm, let alone her transcendent realm divine will. However, Lin Yu could reach that place with his 100-year spiritual realm divine will? Be careful, reminded Qin Ji. Yang Qing came forward. Little Sacred King, be careful. Lin Yu shrugged his shoulders and stepped onto the Forgotten Immortals platform. He stood with his hands behind his back. Isn't he the Little Sacred King? Isn't the Little Sacred King like the Little Saintess and doesn't have any combat strength? Oh, I forgot. Is he going to die again? The disciples discussed among themselves. Is the Little Sacred King too arrogant? The Sword Maniac won by luck. He is underestimating the Crimson Heaven Pavilion. Lin Yu smiled faintly. He raised his hand and hooked his finger. Come. Guling doesn't kill nameless people. Tell me your name. Guling took a step forward and his combat strength skyrocketed. His clothes fluttered without any wind, and a 3-foot-tall glory energy avatar rose from the ground. Everyone in the Forgotten Immortals sect was shocked upon seeing this scene. External avatar. High-tier Earth-grade cultivation technique. Guling is much stronger than 9 sparrows. The Little Sacred King is dead for sure. Even the other elders were sweating profusely. Yang Qing frowned. She didn't expect the Crimson Heaven Pavilion's disciples to be so powerful. Long Lin, who was far away, remained calm. Showing off in front of an expert. As expected, Lin Yu only smiled. A dead man doesn't need to know my name. Murderous intent flashed in Guling's eyes. A dead man? What an arrogant person. Let's see who will die today. He arched his body and shot out. The external incarnation behind him also leaped toward Lin Yu with a huge posture and stomped down in an instant. Lin Yu raised his hand. It seemed slow, but the moment he raised his hand, a ray of sword chi shot out. He didn't even need to gather his strength. His clothes fluttered in the wind. Although the sword chi was small, only 3 feet long, no different from an ordinary sword, such a small sword chi had actually fused into the soles of Guda's feet when it collided with his incarnation. Bang! Bang! Impossible! Chapter 22. Gugui's expression changed drastically. It was too late for him to recall his doppelganger. Loud noises started from the bottom of his doppelganger's feet. Puff! Gugui was 3 feet away from Lin Yu. He spat out a mouthful of blood because his doppelganger was destroyed. However, when he stopped to heal his injuries, Lin Yu disappeared in front of his eyes. He had completely disappeared. Not good. Gugui retreated quickly, only to see a ray of sword qi piercing through his chest. It was so fast that he did not have time to react. Gugui felt the Yao qi in his body flowing away. The overbearing power of the sword qi merged into his internal organs. Damn it! I'll take you down with me! Gugui roared. His voice spread throughout the Forgotten Immortals terrace. Everyone's heart tightened. The pace of the battle was faster than they had imagined. What was more frightening was that Lin Yu, who had ignited his chakra, would be crushed. Unexpectedly, it was Gugui who was being crushed. With a mournful roar, Gugui's right hand grabbed at Lin Yu, but he grabbed nothing. Lin Yu flashed past him. I said, "The dead don't need to know my name." His voice was as calm as water. However, the calmer it was, the more Gugui felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. His bones were stained with cold fear. "You, who are you?" He spat out another mouthful of blood. Under his dantian, as Lin Yu passed by him, a second ray of sword qi also pierced through. His attack was fast, accurate, and ruthless. It surpassed all the experts Gugui had faced. Even the carefree venerable was not as terrifying as this young man. Outside the terrace, the carefree venerable roared, "Impudent, you dare to kill my disciple?" Lin Yu smiled at the carefree venerable. Gugui had fallen beside him. His heart and dantian were damaged. His vitality had disappeared. He was a dead man. Carefree venerable, don't you know the rules of the Forgotten Immortals terrace? Lin Yu shrugged. Your disciples' skills are inferior. You won't blame us, right? You. Reverend Xiaoyao's face darkened, and he immediately sent people to carry Guda's body back. Sure enough, he's the one who taught Sword Maniac. He destroyed Guda's external incarnation in an instant. Guli should still have other trump cards, but it's a pity that Little Sacred King's attack was too fast. That shadow-shifting technique didn't even give Guli time to react, and Guli had already been struck by Little Sacred King's sword. He stroked his beard and said, I feel that not only did the Little Sacred King win in terms of tactics, but his sword qi is also not inferior to Elder Yang's. Yang Qing smiled at Lin Yu. Little Holy King's attainments in the sword Dao have always been above mine. In other words, I don't think anyone in the Grand Mist continent is a match for Little Holy King's sword Dao. Long Lin naturally believed that Lin Yu could win, but from the fact that he could see through his own violent blade 10 styles, it was enough to see the horror of Lin Yu's saber technique. However, even he didn't expect Lin Yu's attainments in the sword Dao to be so powerful. He originally thought that Lin Yu would win with his saber technique. Qin Ji heaved a sigh of relief. As expected, this guy is getting more and more powerful. She believed that Lin Yu wasn't so strong in the beginning, at least not 2 days ago. However, the terrifying thing about him was the speed of his improvement. That sword qi and shadow-shifting technique were something that even she was quite afraid of. Little Sacred King, it's time to come down. Qin Ji said, her tone was obviously very satisfied. Even the elders could see that Qin Ji's tone was very different when she spoke to Lin Yu. Gentleness that had never been seen before. Lin Yu shrugged. The game isn't over yet. The other two come up together. As soon as these words came out, the entire scene changed. What? He wants to challenge 2 people at once. Little Sacred King is crazy. The other 2 are definitely more powerful than Guda. Even the elders and Qinji were sweating. Little Sacred King wants to slap the Crimson Heaven Pavilion's face. The Crimson Heaven Pavilion came knocking on our door. We knew that our Forgotten Immortal sect had no disciples, but we didn't expect Little Sacred King to be so powerful. Honored Xiaoyao's face was gloomy. The 2 disciples behind him were furious. Just as they were about to go up, they were stopped by Honored Xiaoyao. He's already messed up your minds. If you go up now, you'll only reveal your flaws. The two disciples were unconvinced. One of them said, "Honored Master, he killed junior brother Go. If we don't get rid of him, how will our Crimson Heaven Pavilion face today?" "Yes, honored Master. He's just a wheel ignition cultivator. If I go up, I'll kill him alone." "Idiots!" Honored Xiaoyao said angrily. "You'll end up the same if you go up. He can see the flaws in your techniques and even knows how to break them." Jiukei, who was about to put away Guda's corpse, suddenly said, "Honored Master, senior brother Ji's storage ring is missing." "What?" The other three's expressions changed immediately. Storage rings were items that cultivators carried with them. They could store a lot of things in a small ring without any weight. A storage ring was like a space. Once it was taken away, the items in the space would belong to the other party. "It's him." The four of them looked at Lin Yu and saw that he was playing with something in his hand. It was Guda's storage ring. "Damn it, he's forcing us to attack." Honored Xiaoyao said angrily to Qin Ji, "Patriarch Qin, is this how your disciples rob people?" Qin Ji blinked. Of course, she wouldn't say that Lin Yu was wrong. She smiled and said, "What is it?" "I don't know." "You." Honored Xiaoyao was flustered and exasperated. He pointed at Lin Yu's storage ring and said, "Guda has an important treasure of the Crimson Heaven Pavilion. Patriarch Qin, please don't joke around. That storage ring is Guda's." "You say it's yours, so it's yours?" "What a joke, it's obviously Little Saint's." Lin Yu smiled and said, "Why do you say that, Patriarch Xiaoyao?" Honored Xiaoyao didn't expect the Forgotten Immortal sect to be so overbearing. "That's my disciples. You can't touch the things inside. For example," Lin Yu said, "your disciples' things. Why don't you ask your disciple what's inside?" Honored Xiaoyao cursed in his heart. Guda was already dead, what was the point of asking? Jiukei said, "My brother's storage ring has 200,000 Yaobat. Yaobat was the crystallization of Yao Qi. It was used to cultivate or restore Yao Qi. It was the world's currency." Lin Yu smiled and waved his hand. A small hill of Yaobat flew out of the storage ring. It shone brightly under the sunlight. 200,000? Lin Yu smiled indifferently. "Guess how much Yaobat there is in here." "This." Jiukei said angrily, "Damn it, how dare you lie to me? That hill had at least 500,000 Yaobat." Now Jiukei was wrong. Honored Xiaoyao's face darkened. "Idiot, how do you expect me to get it back now?" "Let's go." Honored Xiaoyao was about to leave, but at this time, a southern underworld phoenix descended from the sky. Xian Yu hurried to Lin Yu and said excitedly, "Master, I got it back." Chapter 23. Lin Yu nodded. Xian Yu immediately took out a long spear from his storage ring and handed it to Lin Yu. The unfettered Reverend and the others who were about to leave stopped in their tracks. The unfettered Reverend's gaze fell on the long spear. "Damn it, why is this spear in your hands?" Lin Yu waved the long spear in the air, but he didn't expect that the spear would cut through the ground, causing countless stone slabs to fly into the air. It's a pity that there are restrictions on it. Otherwise, it would be even more powerful. Lin Yu played with the long spear. The Weapon Refining Sect is a sect under my Forgotten Immortal sect. This spear was produced by the Weapon Refining Sect, so it naturally belongs to my Forgotten Immortal sect. He smiled at the unfettered Reverend. "Do you have any objections?" "You." The unfettered Reverend stared at Lin Yu carefully, almost wanting to swallow him whole. The name of the spear was the Phoenix Song Spear, which the Weapon Refining Sect had spent decades to obtain. The Weapon Refining Sect wanted to rely on the Crimson Heaven Pavilion, and this spear was their sincerity. The Weapon Refining Sect had even added restrictions on the Phoenix Song Spear long ago, and only the Crimson Heaven Pavilion's Crimson Heaven token could unlock it. The unfettered Reverend didn't expect the Phoenix Song Spear, a grade 9 weapon, to be a top-grade treasure in the Hongmeng continent. It should have just been forged by the weapon refining sect. The unfettered Reverend's purpose in coming here today was to test the forgotten immortal sect's foundation, and even to destroy their spirit before the Hongmeng battle. The second reason was that when he passed by the weapon refining sect, he could justifiably take the Phoenix Song Spear. However, he didn't expect that the spear he wanted to take would come by itself. Yet, it fell into the hands of the forgotten immortal sect. The unfettered Reverend suddenly thought of something. Damn it, this is his motive for stealing my storage ring. As expected, Lin Yu put away the 500,000 glory bot, and a token flew out from the storage ring. The unfettered Reverend recognized it at a glance. It was the Crimson Heaven token. However, Lin Yu's actions were too fast. Before the unfettered Reverend could speak, the Crimson Heaven token had already shattered and turned into powder, which merged into the Phoenix Song Spear. Lin Yu smiled faintly. Lu Wuhan, take this spear. Lu Wuhan's heart was already pounding because Lin Yu had told him that he would give him a better gun. On the Phoenix chanting spear, blood-colored runes appeared. These runes were originally all over the spear, but as the Scarlet Nimbus token fused with it, the runes turned into energy and were refined into the Phoenix chanting spear. This was the final step. In the past 100,000 years, Lin Yu had also studied all kinds of weapons and spirit weapons under the heavens. Regarding the Phoenix Cry Spear, he had long known about it. According to his estimation, it should be completed within these 2 days. It just so happened that yesterday, Qin Ji had held an elders' assembly for the Crimson Heaven Pavilion's challenge. Lin Yu had already guessed that it wouldn't be so simple. None of this could be hidden from him. Lu Wuhan was extremely excited. He stepped into the air and caught the Phoenix Song Spear flying towards him. The moment the man and the spear met, a phoenix cry pierced through the sky and resounded in the sky above the forgotten immortal sect. So strong, this is a top-grade weapon. Even Mo he and the rest looked over with envy, especially when they saw that this spear was given to Lin Yu by Xian Yu, and Lin Yu gave it to Lu Wuhan. They couldn't help but secretly decide that they must curry favor with Lin Yu. Who knows, maybe the little Saint King would be happy and give them a similar weapon. Treasures are hard to come by, especially this spear. It actually took the initiative to undergo blood refinement with me? Lu Wuhan felt the fluctuation from the Phoenix Song Spear. It was the feeling of a weapon finding its master. Lu Wuhan looked at Lin Yu, hoping to get his approval. Seeing Lin Yu nod, he immediately grasped the spear's tip and blood flowed out from his palm. The Phoenix Song Spear emitted a mist, and the blood instantly merged with the spear's body. Blood refinement was a way for a weapon to recognize its master. From now on, the Phoenix Song Spear could only be used by Lu Wuhan to display its power. Damn it, damn it! Revered Xiao Yao's heart was bleeding. If he knew this would happen, he wouldn't have come to the forgotten immortal sect. He would have gone straight to the weapon refining sect to get the spear first. How could he hold the spear now? Lu Wuhan swung the spear down and the ground cracked. The fissures directly cut off the path in front of the 4 disciples. Lu Wuhan looked at Xiao Yao esteemed with a sharp gaze. Now, he felt that he could fight against Xiao Yao esteemed. However, Lu Wuhan didn't continue to attack. Instead, his gaze fell on Lin Yu, waiting for the other party's decision. The current Lu Wuhan was completely following Lin Yu's lead. In fact, he saw Lin Yu's plan from the beginning, planning step by step to deliver this spear to him. Lu Wuhan was extremely touched. At this moment Lin Yu smiled at Xiao Yao esteemed. If you want to leave, the forgotten immortal sect won't see you off, but remember this. Lin Yu stared at Xiao Yao esteemed with a sharp gaze. The latter didn't expect to be frightened by a young man's gaze. Lin Yu said, "Put away the hand you've stretched out to the forgotten immortal sect, or I'll cut it off." Xiao Yao esteemed swallowed his saliva. Even he was like this, let alone the 3 disciples behind him. They were all scared silly. Above, Lu Wuhan was holding the phoenix spear and glaring at them covetously. In front, Long Lin was already standing there. The saber in his hand also had the aura of looking down on the phoenix spear. "I'll remember this." Xiao Yao esteemed originally thought that the Forgotten Immortal sect was already a soft persimmon, but he didn't expect that there would be one more person today. This made him feel like he had kicked an iron plate. He smiled and said, "May I ask this disciple's name?" He didn't know that Lin Yu was already a minor saint king at such a young age. He immediately subconsciously thought that Lin Yu was just a disciple of the Forgotten Immortal sect. "You'll know when the Hongming duel comes." Lin Yu smiled faintly. "Why aren't you scramming?" Xiao Yao esteemed didn't expect that the other party wouldn't give him face. His face sank and he left with his head lowered. Compared to the arrogant attitude he had when he first arrived, he was like a completely different person. After they left, the whole audience burst into loud cheers. "Long live the Minor Saint King! Minor Saint King! Minor Saint King!" Lin Yu smiled faintly. Qin Ji and the other elders also gathered around. Qin Ji smiled and said, "You already knew about the weapon refining sect?" Lin Yu shrugged and looked at Xian Yu. This was something that Elder Xian Yu had seen. Suddenly Xian Yu felt flattered. He didn't expect Lin Yu to give him the credit. How could Qin Ji not understand Lin Yu's thoughts? She immediately smiled and praised Xian Yu. "Grand Elder has made a great contribution. I will reward you accordingly. In the future, if Grand Elder has any requests, I will try my best to satisfy them." Xian Yu was stunned, and the other elders were even more stunned. This was the first time they saw the sect master and Grand Elder talking so peacefully. Xian Yu felt the surrounding atmosphere and felt that he was too good in front of the sect master. Not only did he not have to tremble in fear as a spy, but he could also show off in front of others. How was this the treatment of a spy? "Haha, the matters of the Forgotten Immortal sect are my matters. If outsiders want to touch the things of the Forgotten Immortal sect, I will be the first to fight them with my life." Xian Yu's tail was wagging. Lin Yu also smiled and quietly left the crowd. Seeing this, Lu Wuhan immediately came over to thank him. "Minor Saint King, if you have any instructions in the future, just call me." Lin Yu nodded and said, "There is indeed something that I need you to do. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.